Chapter 894. What's the matter? Queen Hyaxian did not appear. The lake shook slightly and a voice sounded. That's right, the voice did not come from Queen Hyaxian, but from the lake. Kui Yao's battle in the Holy Valley is over, Gui Wuzi said. The lake water jumped up, showing Queen Hyaxian's displeasure. She said coldly, "What, you want to disturb me for such a small matter? Just capture Huan Yu's daughter and kill the rest," Gui Wuzi said. "But the people in the Holy Valley have disappeared without a trace. Huan Yu and her daughter have also disappeared." "Impossible!" The water in the lake suddenly shot up to a height of 100 meters and let out a shrill voice. "Impossible? You have surrounded the entire Holy Valley, they can't escape," Gui Wuzi said. The old slave also thought so, but they really disappeared, as if they had evaporated from this world. In fact, 2 hours before the battle began, there were still people in the valley, but when they entered, they were all gone. 1,000,000 soldiers dug hundreds of feet into the ground and found nothing. 100,000 eagle men searched tens of thousands of miles to the east of the endless sea but found nothing. Suddenly, the lake became silent. After a long time, Queen Hyaxian said, "It's Yang Dingtian." Gui Wuzi said, "That's impossible. No matter how capable Yang Dingtian is, it's impossible for him to make more than 100,000 people disappear without a trace." "You don't understand." Queen Hyaxian sighed. "The realm he has touched is not something you can understand," Gui Wuzi said. "Then is there a way to make up for it, to find and kill all the people Yang Dingtian hid?" "Ha ha!" Queen Hyaxian laughed. "Dream on, do you know how he hid them?" "The old slave doesn't know," Gui Wuzi said. Following that, Queen Hyaxian sighed and said, "Yang Dingtian is starting to challenge my bottom line. First, he stole Venom Shah's body. Then, he created a diversion and killed Wu Daozi. Then, he used lightning to wipe out my 1,000,000-strong army in the southern barbarian continent. It took me several years to build the Queen's new city and transport the 1,000,000-strong army there. This is the only base we have in the human world. Now, he's trying to push my limits and reach into my Naga Empire." Finally, Gui Wuzi couldn't help but interject. "Your Majesty, you're indulging Yang Dingtian too much." "That's right. I indulged him too much. That's why he's so insatiable," Queen Hyaxian said coldly. "Perhaps defeating Wu Daozi gave him a boost of confidence, and made him feel that he can shed all pretense of cordiality with me." Gui Wuzi said, "He's too naive. He doesn't know how powerful Her Majesty is now. We have to give him a warning. Otherwise, he'll think we're weak." Queen Hyaxian said indifferently, "That's right. We have to give him a warning. Tell me, what kind of warning should we give him?" Gui Wuzi said, "Attack him where it hurts the most." "Do you think we should attack his family?" Queen Hyaxian asked. Gui Wuzi fell into silence, indicating that he agreed. Queen Hyaxian fell into deep thought and said slowly, "Not for now. But if he still doesn't know what's good for him, then don't blame me for being ruthless." Gui Wuzi's face twitched. Although he was unhappy that Queen Hyaxian wasn't ruthless enough to Yang Dingtian, he didn't dare to question and nodded. "Yes." After a long time, Queen Hyaxian said, "Just wait. He'll come and see me. Because he can hide these people, but he can't take them away. If he wants to save them, he'll have to go through the Naga Empire. As long as he cares about these lives, he won't be able to escape. Each demon eagle could carry more than 10,000 pounds of weight. However, the space on its back was limited. Therefore, each demon eagle could only carry about 30 people at most. Therefore, 1,000 demon eagles had to make 3 to 4 trips to transport all the demi-humans out of the yin-yang mirror. After unloading the food from the back of the demonic vultures, the hundreds of thousands of rebels finally got to eat real food. Immediately, the countless people present had tears streaming down their faces as they ate. After the meal, the demi-humans immediately organized the demi-humans into groups. There were a total of 4 groups that left the torn space. Each of them had an individual code, and each code had a specific position on each demon eagle. After more than 6 hours, the first group of more than 30,000 people rode on 1,000 demon eagles and flew towards the southwest. This could be considered as the craziest and most bizarre transfer in history. 1,000 demon eagles carrying more than 30,000 demi-humans had to cross the spatial tear and reach the yin-yang mirror. Day by day, Bella suddenly said, "Sir Yang Dingtian, the demi-humans will remember this day. We'll remember your kindness." Yang Dingtian said, "You've used your actions to prove your nobility. Everything I've done is what I should do." Day by day, Bella said, "Sect leader, after we reach the human countries, how do you plan to settle the demi-humans?" Yang Dingtian said, "I've already taken a piece of land in the southern barbarian continent. It's almost 10,000 miles long. There are more than 1,000,000 demi-human slaves there. They've all been liberated by us. The Council of Light has given them land. They can enjoy the same rights as the citizens of the Radiant Parliament. After you enter the southern barbarian continent, you won't be isolated because other than the 1,000,000-strong army of the Radiant Parliament, most of the remaining people are from the demi-human race. In the future, we'll gradually move people from the human countries to the southern barbarian continent, but we'll be very cautious. Also, I'll suggest that the demi-humans representative enter the Council of Light's leadership and let a large number of demi-humans join the army. We'll work hard to make the demi-humans a part of the Council of Light." Day by day, Bella was extremely excited after hearing this. Yang Dingtian continued, "Of course, whether we should let the humans and demi-humans marry each other, we'll need to conduct extensive verification and discussion. This is because there are benefits to marriage. It'll prevent racial conflicts in the future. But there are also disadvantages. The demi-humans might gradually disappear as an independent, intelligent race. Of course, I'm still leaning towards marriage and integration. I can guarantee that racial conflicts won't become a huge disaster in my lifetime. But after we pass away, it'll be hard to avoid such things. At that time, the demi-humans might exceed tens of millions. They'll feel that their living space is too narrow, and they'll feel that they're being discriminated against. If there's a conflict with the humans, it'll be a world-class war. We won't be able to bear it." Day by day, Bella said, "My personal opinion is that 95% of the demi-humans are exactly the same as the humans. For example, our Foxman race can definitely marry and integrate with the humans. Of course, in this way, perhaps our Foxman race, as a separate race, might disappear. However, our blood would spread throughout the entire world and might remain in every human's body in the future. This might be an even greater matter." Yang Dingtian glanced at Day by Day Bella and said, "I'm very happy that you can think this way." After a full 3 days and 3 nights, 1,000 demon eagles flew a distance of 30,000 miles and crossed the entire torn space. Then, Yang Dingtian created a space portal at the end of the torn space. 1,000 demon eagles flew through the space portal one by one and entered the yin-yang mirror in the human kingdom. Everyone on the space portal was blindfolded. After a full 2 hours, 1,000 demon eagles flew through the space portal and transported over 30,000 people to the yin-yang mirror. After resting for a few hours, the 1,000 devil eagles had fully recovered. Furthermore, after consuming sufficient elixirs, Yang Dingtian brought them through the spatial door and tore open the spatial zone to transport the next wave of resistance army. Just like that, a full half a month's time was spent. Yang Dingtian didn't sleep at all and changed 2 batches of demon eagles. He finally completed an unprecedented feat. He traveled through space and rescued over 100,000 resistance soldiers from the slaughter of the Naga Empire. Then, he transported them to the yin-yang mirror in the human kingdom tens of thousands of miles away. After the 100,000 people arrived at the yin-yang mirror, a total of 5,000 demon dragons, under the leadership of Song Chunhua, dragged 5,000 carts to the end of the yin-yang mirror. "Faction leader, Song Chunhua is here to carry out the mountain-moving plan," Song Chunhua said. None of the 5,000 demon dragons were riders. All the carts were on a sleigh track. "Get on!" Yang Dingtian ordered. More than 100,000 people boarded the carts in an orderly manner. Then, the doors and windows were closed. The people outside couldn't see in, and the people inside couldn't see out. After everything was loaded, the 5,000 demon dragons dragged the carts and flew towards the south. After a day and a night, the 5,000 demon dragons left the yin yang mirror and entered the north. All the carts had been replaced with wheels. In the north, they rested for half a day and then continued to the south. A day later, the 5,000 carts and more than 100,000 resistance soldiers entered the northwest continent. 8 hours later, they arrived at the east coast of the northwest continent. A fleet of more than 100 large warships was already waiting by the shore. The 5,000 demon dragons dragged the carts onto the warships and entered the cabins. Then, the fleet sailed towards the southeast. Their destination was the southern barbarian continent. This secret mountain-moving plan used countless resources from the beginning to the end. 3,000 demon eagles, 8,000 demon dragons, and 2 large fleets. However, in the entire Council of Light, there were less than 5 people who knew about this operation. Even the highest commander of the fleet in charge of the transportation did not know what he was transporting to the southern barbarian continent. When the resistance soldiers boarded the 100 large warships and entered the cabins, there were already a few hundred spiritual masters waiting there. They would have all their memories of what happened in the past month and after leaving the Holy Valley, including Princess Xiang. This was because the space technique was a top secret and could not be made public for the time being. Perhaps it could never be made public. After a few days, the resistance soldiers would land on the southern barbarian continent. Some of them would join the Council of Light army, while most of them would be given houses and land. They would become citizens of the Council of Light and permanent residents of the southern barbarian continent. Of course, after the resistance soldiers all boarded the warships, Yang Dingtian did not continue to accompany them. He still had to see Queen Haixian and make a trip to the so-called sacred land of the Snake Men Empire. Originally, Yang Dingtian wanted to let Huan Yu bring his baby Wu to Cloud Sky City first. However, Huan Yu felt that she had to bring the resistance soldiers to settle down in the southern barbarian continent first. Then, she would bring the baby to Cloud Sky City to see his brother, sister, grandmother, and other mothers. Therefore, Yang Dingtian had no choice but to allow her to do as she wished. Huan Yu felt that the resistance army was her responsibility, and she had to wait for them to settle down before she felt that her mission was completed. Only then would she be able to regain her freedom. Yang Dingtian rode the demon Vulture King alone and went to the Snake Men Empire from the northwest continent again. He acted as if it was his first time entering after returning. This time, Yang Dingtian did not keep it a secret and directly attracted the attention of the Snake Men Empire's air defense winged cavalry. However, the Snake Men Empire's air defense troops could not stop him at all. The demon Vulture King Ajwa went straight in and sped up to 3,000 miles per hour. The winged cavalry of the Snake Men Empire could not even see his shadow, let alone catch up with him. Therefore, tens of thousands of winged cavalry and tens of thousands of eagle men desperately chased after Yang Dingtian in the air. Soon, Yang Dingtian came to the center of the Dongli grassland, the burial ground. This was the place where the Dongli grassland war broke out. For thousands of years, countless wars broke out here and more than 100 million people died. These countless resentful spirits, together with the energy of the land, finally condensed the heaven and earth level mystic fire, million spirits demonic fire. However, the bone burial ground was no longer filled with reeds and swamps. It was already full of castles and towers of the Snake Men Empire. However, the most central place was still the same. The lake in the middle was still incomparably clear. However, the entire lake was surrounded by Snake Men statues. Hundreds of statues of the Queen of the Sea Hearts surrounded the lake. Each statue was at least 100 meters tall. This lake was now the Queen's holy land. Yang Dingtian came to the edge of the lake and did not directly enter the area surrounded by the statues. Yang Dingtian of the human kingdom requests to see Queen Haixian. Yang Dingtian shouted loudly. Suddenly, the surface of the entire lake trembled slightly. Then, countless water surged and condensed into a huge figure. It was the charming and beautiful Queen Haixian. She was at least 100 meters tall. The Queen High Xian formed by the water was also vivid and lifelike. Even her expression was detailed. Your Excellency Yang Dingtian, you are very capable. The Queen High Xian formed by the water said slowly. You actually hid hundreds of thousands of Holy Valley rebels in front of my million-strong army and played me in the palm of your hand. I wouldn't dare, Yang Dingtian said. Queen High Xian said slowly. Yang Dingtian, do you think I am very easy to bully? Or have you become very arrogant of your cultivation after coming back this time? Otherwise, why would you provoke my bottom line again and again? Yang Dingtian said. I had no choice. Queen High Xian said slowly. At the entrance of the taboo continent, you injured my subordinates and took away the door to the human kingdom. Then, you stole Poise's body. Then, you destroyed my million-strong army in the southern barbarian continent. Finally, you even inserted your hands into my Snake Men empire and saved hundreds of thousands of rebels. How did you do it? I can't figure it out no matter how hard I try. Yang Dingtian fell into silence. You won't say? Then I don't need to know. Queen High Xian said slowly. Since you have done these things, why are you here this time? Yang Dingtian said. I want to get Queen High Xian's forgiveness and accept the current situation. Ha ha! Suddenly, the Queen High Xian formed by the water laughed crazily. Then countless flames burst out from the water and burned fiercely, representing Queen High Xian's anger. Yang Dingtian, do you think that I will be obedient and tolerate you just because I want to borrow your seed? Queen High Xian said sternly. I wouldn't dare, Yang Dingtian said. Queen High Xian's eyes turned into two balls of flames and stared at Yang Dingtian. Hand over Poise's body and I can pretend that nothing happened. I can let those hundreds of thousands of people go and let you bring them back to the human countries. I can forgive all the things you did before. Yang Dingtian shook his head. Sorry, no! Crack! Suddenly, the 100-meter-tall Queen High Xian formed by the lake water froze into ice and became a crystal-clear statue. Suddenly, the air within a few thousand meters became extremely cold. Yang Dingtian, I won't kill you. But that doesn't mean that I won't kill your family. Queen High Xian said slowly. That's right, you saved Huan Yu and her and your daughter. But it doesn't mean that they belong to you just because they are by your side. As long as I want to, I can go to the human countries and capture them, or even kill them. Even if you gather the entire human countries, you won't be able to stop me. Yang Dingtian said. Speaking of Huan Yu, her baby, Yan Wu, looks exactly the same as Dugu Fengwu. Do you have anything to tell me? Queen High Xian said. You should have guessed it already. Why do you still need me to tell you? Yang Dingtian said. Dugu Xiao changed Dugu Fengwu's appearance and erased her memories before sending her to your side. He entrusted her to you and intended to free her from the evil ways and the Tiando League. But you swapped her soul spirit with slave Yunjun. Am I right? Queen High Xian sneered. Yang Dingtian said. Therefore, the current slave Yunjun has her own memories, but they are taken over by Dugu Fengwu's new soul spirit. That is why she is so contradictory. She has slave Yunjun's charm, and Dugu Fengwu's determination. Huan Yu is Dugu Fengwu's body, but slave Yunjun's soul spirit and willpower are stored in Huan Yu's body. Therefore, she looks strong and resolute, but she is actually kind and fragile. You have filled both of them with contradictions and made them incomplete. They have completely lost themselves. Am I right? At the end, Yang Dingtian's words were filled with rage. Dugu Fengwu's memories were originally erased. Immediately after, this soul spirit was poured into slave Yunjun. It inherited slave Yunjun. Therefore, he was almost a person who was divided. It was the same for Huan Yu. The saddest thing was that the two of them didn't even know what was going on. They thought that they were born like this. This evil cultivation technique was almost the same as the demon King Wentian's soul spirit splitting. It was still alright for slave Yunjun. She still had more complete memories, but her personality had changed. She still remembered that she was the daughter of Yun Kailin and Kui Si. As for Huan Yu, she didn't know anything about her origin. This was because this body didn't inherit any memories. When she was with Huang Yu, she didn't know anything about her past. It was as though she suddenly appeared in this world. Dugu Xiao entrusted Dugu Fengwu to Queen Hai Xian because he trusted her. In the end, Queen Hai Xian did the most evil soul spirit experiment on Fengwu and slave Yunju, and Dugu Fengwu was originally very pitiful. Right now, she was an individual that was filled with personality and pride. She was almost completely wiped out from this world. Furthermore, a part of it was because of Yang Dingtian. Chapter 895. Can Fengwu recover? Suddenly, Yang Dingtian asked. What do you think? Queen Hai Xian said slowly. If you want to recover, why did you have to erase her memories and change her appearance? Yang Dingtian fell into silence again. That's right. Dugu Fengwu's current predicament was largely related to him. If it wasn't for him, she wouldn't have been poisoned by the soul-devouring devil mystic. Back when they were getting married in the Temple of Blood, she might have pretended to be heartless. But it was only because of her personality. Dongfang Bingling and Jiang Yi forcefully took her son away from her, which caused her to be incomparably furious and even hateful. In the end, Dugu Xiao changed her appearance and erased her memories in order to prevent her from being involved in the conflict between the evil ways and the Tiando League. He sent her to the bewildering abyss back then. This matter was unsolvable under the circumstances back then. Especially since Fengwu's personality was so intense and unyielding, it was impossible to change. However, time could really change everything. Back then, Yang Dingtian taking Yang Li away wasn't a mistake. But even if that was the case, Dugu Fengwu might not turn against Yang Dingtian and kill him. What Dugu Xiao was most worried about was that Dugu Fengwu would enter Wu Yoming's camp completely due to her anger and hatred, resulting in irreversible consequences. Now, even Wu Yuming had become neither an enemy nor a friend, let alone Dugu Fengwu. In the end, it resulted in the current situation. Should she recover? Perhaps, it wasn't something that Yang Dingtian had the authority to decide. He had already interfered with Dugu Fengwu's fate once. This time, it was better for them to decide for themselves. If Yun Jianu and Huang Yu wanted to recover, then he would think of ways to do so. If they were willing to be content with the current situation, then he would be content with the current situation. Alright, let's not stray from the topic and return to our question, Queen Hai Xian said. Either you hand over Poise's body, or you suffer my wrath. That's impossible, Yang Dingtian said directly. Bang! Suddenly, the ice statue of Queen Hai Xian shattered and turned back into clear lake water. Then, a beautiful figure suddenly flew out of the water. It was Queen Hai Xian, but it was Queen Hai Xian in her original form. Only its upper body was human, while its lower body was that of a snake. Moreover, it was a dark blue snake that was more than 10 meters long. She suddenly floated on the surface of the water and spoke coldly. Yang Dingtian, do you think that you are strong enough and can completely disregard me? It looks like I'll have to teach you a lesson today. Don't think that just because you defeated Wu Dozi that you can be so conceited. Queen Hai Xian suddenly raised her jade-like hand and slapped the air. All of a sudden, the entire lake's water surged into the air and condensed into a huge palm that slammed down on Yang Dingtian. Boom! A loud sound rang out. Yang Dingtian used the demonic spirit mist cloak and suddenly appeared. Bang! However, as soon as he appeared, he immediately slammed into a powerful energy wall and bounced back. Then, the huge palm that was tens of thousands of meters long slammed down. Puff! Yang Dingtian spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body seemed to have turned into ashes, and he could not feel anything. Then, this huge palm suddenly began to solidify, completely sealing Yang Dingtian inside. Yang Dingtian gritted his teeth and the mystic fire on his body burst out, about to completely melt this piece of ice. Boom, boom, boom! Wherever the mystic fire passed, all the ice turned into ashes. However, Queen Hai Xian's ice energy was released faster. Yang Dingtian melted 10 feet, and she froze 10 feet, completely trapping Yang Dingtian inside. Yang Dingtian gritted his teeth and held the Emperor-grade soul sword in his hand. He began to forcibly break through, using the demonic spirit mist cloak flash technique, and rushed out, shattering all the ice. Bang, 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 bang. In an instant, he rushed out dozens of miles. But the speed of High Exion's queen was still faster. He shattered 10 miles, and she froze 100 miles. Yang Dingtian was still sealed in her ice, completely unable to escape. Throughout the whole process, High Exion did not fight with him head-on. She completely used the water of the entire lake to fight with Yang Dingtian. I don't believe that I can't break your ice. Yang Dingtian was furious. Then, he began to release 2 mystic fires, 3 mystic fires. He injected his mystic chi to the extreme, and then slammed it. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, it was like a small nuclear bomb exploding. The light that surpassed the sun suddenly burst out. Yang Dingtian used the demonic spirit black armor, and the demonic spirit fire energy shield to barely protect himself. With such a terrifying mystic fire colliding and exploding, not to mention dozens of miles of ice, even hundreds of miles of ice would instantly turn into nothing. Sure enough, almost instantly, the ice that trapped Yang Dingtian instantly turned into ashes, without even the process of melting. But it was also in the same instant that all the water vapor instantly solidified. Suddenly, the air within hundreds of miles was all shattered ice layers. Then, these hundreds of miles of ice layers began to collapse, compress, and solidify. Bang, 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 bang. In an instant, from an irregular shape with a diameter of hundreds of miles, it became a cube with a diameter of dozens of miles. Bang, bang, bang. It continued to collapse and compress. An incomparably powerful energy was desperately squeezing this ice cube. From dozens of miles, it was compressed to 10 miles. At this time, the density of this ice had increased by 1,000 times. Each cubic meter of ice was already more than 2 million pounds. However, the compression still continued. Yang Dingtian felt the power on his body was getting stronger and stronger. Moreover, this was the most direct form of martial force. It was neither fire nor ice energy. Therefore, the demonic spirit fire energy shield was useless, and the demonic spirit black armor was also not very useful. He could only use his body to resist. At this time, the force squeezing his body had already exceeded a few million pounds. Then, Yang Dingtian needed to use his celestial chi energy to release a few million pounds of reverse force to offset and prevent his body from being injured. However, a few million pounds of force was almost Yang Dingtian's limit. However, the ice cube continued to compress, and continued. It became 8 miles, 5 miles, 3 miles, 300 meters. At this time, the ice had already condensed countless times, and the density and pressure had increased by tens of thousands of times. The energy pressure that Yang Dingtian was enduring had already exceeded 10 million pounds. Even if he used all his strength, he would not be able to resist. However, the ice continued to compress. At this time, of course, he could release his celestial fire to temporarily tear the ice apart. However, at this time, all his celestial chi had to be used to deal with the pressure of hell. As long as his celestial chi was dispersed, his entire body would instantly shatter and turn into meat paste. Yang Dingtian made a mistake. He should not have been in such a sorry state. He should not have directly used his celestial chi to resist the ice pressure. He should have released the dark vortex when the pressure was not strong enough. The black hole of the dark vortex was incomparably powerful. It could swallow any energy, including physical pressure. However, Yang Dingtian did not want Queen High Exion to see the formation of the dark vortex, so he did not use this move. Now, he was already in a desperate situation and had almost no strength to fight back. He really could not take it anymore. He had already sunk into a state of confusion and could barely feel his own body. He was about to be smashed into pieces, or even turned into ashes. This was because his physical body could not withstand such a huge pressure. At this time, the dark green dragon in his body finally roared and was about to drill out from the depths of his energy reserve to destroy this ice formation. It was really unwilling to come out because this was not energy damage, but physical damage. If it wanted to save Yang Dingtian, it would not be as simple as just coming out of the energy reserve. It would have to rush out of Yang Dingtian's body. This would cause a lot of damage to it. If not for the fact that Yang Dingtian was about to die, it would definitely not do this. It was extremely greedy. It was still brooding over the energy that was extorted from it by the nihility Piaoling. It was unwilling to lose any bit of energy. At this time, Hai Xian felt that Yang Dingtian was about to turn into ashes. Whoosh! Immediately, she withdrew all of her energy. In an instant, the tens of millions of kilograms of pressure on Yang Dingtian's body disappeared without a trace. Yang Dingtian fell. His eyes were blurred and he was panting heavily. As for the dark green dragon, it was incomparably glad that it did not need to drill out of Yang Dingtian's body to save him. It immediately drilled back into the depths of his energy reserve and disappeared without a trace. Yang Dingtian, are you clear-headed now? Queen Hai Xian asked coldly. Yang Dingtian replied, I have been clear-headed the whole time. I already knew that I was not your opponent. It's just that I did not know what your cultivation was like. Now I have a rough idea. No, you still don't understand, Queen Hai Xian said coldly. My cultivation method is far beyond your imagination. Then, she suddenly floated in front of Yang Dingtian. She reached out and touched Yang Dingtian's pale face. Her beautiful eyes twitched slightly. Why are you so stubborn? Is my suggestion not good? You become my man. We will become the masters of the entire world. I will definitely not invade the human countries in your lifetime. Even if we conquer the human countries in the future, the emperor of the entire world will be our son. Isn't that good? Why must you be so stubborn and go against me? Yang Dingtian laughed. It was not easy for me to hold on until now. If I give up now, I will be laughed at. Who dares to laugh at you? Queen Hai Xian said. I killed them all. Who dares to laugh at you? Yang Dingtian replied. Me? Laughing at myself? Can't I? Just like how you persevered until now for your career and ambition. Once you give up, you will have nothing left. If you will not give up, I will not give up either. Queen Hai Xian said. Then, are you going to go against me to the end? Yes, Yang Dingtian said. Queen Hai Xian said. You want to raise your cultivation and then kill me? Yang Dingtian did not say anything. Then I will kill you now, Queen Hai Xian said angrily. Her beautiful eyes were burning with anger. Then, she raised her jade hand and was about to smash Yang Dingtian's head. She wanted to smash Yang Dingtian's body into pieces. However, she lowered her hand halfway and slapped Yang Dingtian's face hard. This slap was hard. Yang Dingtian's face swelled up instantly. Fortunately, he was not an idol. I really want to tear you into pieces. Tear you into pieces, Queen Hai Xian said through gritted teeth. Queen Hai Xian tried her best to calm her breathing and her anger. She said, All right, let's not talk about things out of anger. Hand over Poise's body and I will let you go. Yang Dingtian said. You don't intend to destroy my cultivation and then imprison me? Queen Hai Xian said. I don't just want to destroy your cultivation. I also want to dig out your annoying eyes and chop off your limbs. I only want that thing to be able to copulate with me. Then, Queen Hai Xian clutched her heart and said, Don't make me angry anymore. It won't do you any good. The reason why I didn't destroy you and imprison you is because your existence is more beneficial to me. Your existence will make the Snake People Empire more valuable in the face of evil ways. Otherwise, those people will really be arrogant. Queen Hai Xian tried her best to calm down and said, Hand it over. Hand over Poise and we will write off this matter temporarily. No, it's impossible, Yang Dingtian said resolutely. Queen Hai Xian's gaze suddenly turned cold. She said sternly, Yang Dingtian, what are you trying to do? You want to revive her and kill me, don't you? Do you hate me so much and want me to die so badly? Yang Dingtian said. I don't want you to die. I just want you to stop harming this world. The weak are prey to the strong. This is the law of survival. What harming? Queen Hai Xian said angrily. I will ask you one last time. Do you want to hand over Poise's body or not? Otherwise, I will immediately go and capture Huan Yu and your daughter. If you don't agree, I will kill them one by one. Let's see if your daughter is more important, or Poise's body. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian trembled violently. If he really encountered such a situation, he had no choice. The only choice was to use all his strength and perish together with Queen Hai Xian. That was to carry her and charge into the Death Continent, the world of darkness. Queen Hai Xian instantly felt Yang Dingtian's anger and endless killing intent. If that's the case, will you perish together with me? Queen Hai Xian said slowly. Yang Dingtian nodded. Queen Hai Xian's chest heaved up and down. Her expression kept changing. One moment, it was filled with killing intent, as if she wanted to tear Yang Dingtian into pieces. The next moment, she was lost. Her beautiful face was sometimes snow-white and sometimes flushed red. Perish together with me? Can you do that? Queen Hai Xian said coldly. Maybe. Yang Dingtian said. Queen Hai Xian gritted her teeth and stared coldly at Yang Dingtian. She said word by word, Get lost, get lost. Then, she turned around and walked towards the lake. She disappeared without a trace. The entire lake turned into Queen Hai Xian's face. She said coldly, Yang Dingtian, this is the last time. Don't think that you can just squander my indulgence and affection for you. Also, although you don't touch your family, it doesn't mean that I will let you off easily. You hurt me like this. I will not let you off easily. Then, her face disappeared and turned back into lake water. Chapter 896. Looking at the surface of the lake that was gradually calming down, Yang Dingtian's emotions were complicated. He really did not expect that the disturbance this time would be settled just like that. Queen Hai Xian actually let it go just like that. Originally, Yang Dingtian was prepared to use his trump card, using the sacred ground as a threat. One must know that Yang Dingtian's 3 profound flame lightning was extremely powerful, far surpassing the power of a level 19. Although it could not hit Queen Hai Xian, this so-called sacred ground of the Naga Empire could not be moved. It would definitely not be able to block Yang Dingtian's 3 profound flame lightning. At that time, Queen Hai Xian would definitely have to compromise. Because this sacred ground was now the lifeblood of the Naga Empire. It could not be damaged. And Yang Dingtian would definitely not hand over Queen Poise's body. Therefore, this dispute could still be settled. Of course, this way, the conflict between Yang Dingtian and Queen Hai Xian would be even more intense. But unexpectedly, Queen Hai Xian actually gave up threatening Yang Dingtian's family in the end. He did not know if it was because she had a bottom line in her heart regarding Yang Dingtian, or if it was because of some other reason. Or maybe it was because even though she did not care about Huan Yu's life or death on the surface, but after all, she was her family. The second family in this world, the first was of course Queen Poisa. However, this was the best outcome. Yang Dingtian finally understood that Queen Hai Xian's cultivation was not something he could match up to now. She did not even fight him directly. She only used the lake water and almost took his life. And the source of her strength was undoubtedly this sacred ground in front of him. This sacred ground was right under the lake. It should be the biggest secret of the Naga Empire. It was also the reason why the experts of the Naga Empire appeared so quickly. Yang Dingtian really wanted to go in and investigate, but it was absolutely impossible now. Because Queen Hai Xian was right below. He took one last look at the lake, as if he was trying to see through the lake and see the Holy Land inside, as well as Queen Hai Xian in the deepest part of the lake. Then, Yang Dingtian suddenly rose into the air and flew towards the south. After flying for a few hundred miles, the demon eagle King Aja immediately came up. Yang Dingtian rode on the Demon Eagle King and flew towards the northwest continent at the fastest speed. Half a day later, Yang Dingtian arrived in the sky above the northwest continent. However, he did not stop at Cloud Sky City. Instead, he flew directly towards the sea. Yang Dingtian had already made a trip to the Snake Men Empire and returned. The fleet carrying the half-human rebellion army was still very far from the southern barbarian continent. In just 4 hours, Yang Dingtian caught up with the fleet and landed on the largest ship. Huan Yu, Day by Day Bella, and Xiang Xiang were all on this ship. Seeing that Yang Dingtian had returned safely, Huan Yu's heart was finally at ease. As for the little darling, Yang Wu was sleeping. This little lass even needed Xiang Xiang to accompany her while she slept. The ships of this fleet were all very large. Each ship could fit over 1,000 people, which was more than enough. For example, Huan Yu and Xiang Xiang each had their own cabin, which was over 12 square meters. When Yang Dingtian came in, Huan Yu immediately threw herself into his embrace. However, Dugu Fengwu would never do that. "Husband, did she do anything to you?" Huan Yu asked. "No, this matter is over," Yang Dingtian said. "Is she so easy to talk to?" Huan Yu said. "I think she definitely has some intentions towards you. Don't think I can't see it." Immediately after, she gently snuggled into Yang Dingtian's embrace and said, "It's fine as long as this matter is over. I don't want to care about the grudges with her anymore. From now on, I don't want to care about anything else. I just want to be your wife and accompany our baby to grow up. When our baby is older, we will have another baby boy." Yang Dingtian instinctively wanted to say that she still had another baby boy. However, he didn't say it out loud and only said, "Okay." The character of Huan Yu in front of him was truly not Dugu Fengwu. She definitely didn't have any dreams of being a good wife and loving mother. Therefore, Huan Yu might look powerful and domineering, but her soul was actually that of a little woman. Yun Zhenu might look delicate and charming, but she was actually very ambitious. Therefore, she didn't marry Yang Dingtian and instead became his personal female officer. She became one of the most important figures in the Council of Light. In this aspect, she was very similar to Feng Wu. "Hey, if you two want to be intimate, go to my cabin. Your baby daughter finally fell asleep, and it is very difficult to coax her to sleep," Xiang Xiang suddenly said with a sour tone. Yang Dingtian instantly smiled embarrassedly. However, Huan Yu's beautiful eyes actually turned hot as she whispered, "Husband, let's go there. We haven't been intimate for a long time. I want to do it again." Yang Dingtian was startled. It was fine even if they didn't get intimate for a few years. This time, it was almost a month. However, he had been so busy that he didn't have any rest for a month, let alone getting intimate with a woman. Since his woman wanted it, he had to do his best. Therefore, he directly carried Huan Yu and walked towards the other cabin. Before they started, Huan Yu's charming eyes were like silk. She panted softly and said, "Husband, we were too intense last time. Now that we have a lot of time, I want to take it slow and be very gentle." Yang Dingtian said, "No problem. I know a lot about this. I promise it will be like a spring breeze." This love that was like a spring breeze and a drizzle lasted for a full 3 hours. "Husband, do you think I can get pregnant this time?" Huan Yu suddenly asked. "Is today the day when you can easily get pregnant?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Probably, maybe. I hope so," Huan Yu said. "My cycle is very, very inaccurate." Yang Dingtian knew that Yun Zhenu's cycle was also very inaccurate. Of course, he didn't have intimate relations with Yun Zhenu. Because when her cycle came, she was completely temperamental. 15 minutes ago, she was very bad-tempered and would seize the opportunity to scold Yang Dingtian. But 15 minutes later, she would suddenly seduce him. Therefore, every time Yun Zhenu became moody, it meant that her cycle had come. And her cycle was very chaotic. There was no pattern at all. This should be the result of Queen Hai Xian's evil experiment. "Husband, will you marry other women?" Huan Yu suddenly asked. Yang Dingtian was silent for a moment. he said. I don't know. Pervert. Huan Yu complained. Yang Dingtian said. Some are responsible. Huan Yu gently drew circles on Yang Dingtian's chest. Then she said, You have to give Xiang Xiang an explanation. She has waited for so many years and took good care of your daughter. I know. Yang Dingtian said. Also, if I marry Xiang Xiang, it will set an example for the Foxman race and the human race. It will let the half-human race integrate better into the human country. Annoying. Huan Yu complained. It's obviously a good thing, but you make it sound so snobbish. Then Huan Yu said, Xiang Xiang used to be very bold, but now she has become very sensitive. So you have to take the initiative in this matter, understand? Okay. Yang Dingtian said. Then he said, Say, if I ask Master to propose today by day, Bella, wouldn't it be more serious? Huan Yu thought for a moment. Then she nodded and said, It's good, but it doesn't seem to be enough. You can't just propose to her father, you have to propose to Xiang Xiang too. Yang Dingtian said, Okay, I'll go find Yan Yan and propose to Xiang Xiang. Is it the boss of us sisters? Huan Yu asked with a strange tone. Yang Dingtian said, You can't bully her at home. She is the easiest to bully, and that's why she is the boss. Pff. Huan Yu laughed. Then she rolled her eyes at Yang Dingtian and said delicately, Biased. Yang Dingtian stayed silent for a moment. He looked at Huan Yu's eyes and couldn't help but reveal a guilty expression. He had wronged many women, but Duge Fengwu was the one he had wronged the most. What? I was just joking. Why are you angry? Huan Yu said delicately. She is the first wife, and we are the second wife. Of course, we have to serve her carefully. I won't retaliate when I hit or scold her. That should be fine, right? Silly. Yang Dingtian pinched her gently and said, Huang, there are some things that I don't know if I should tell you. What is it? Is it very important? Huan Yu asked. It can be considered very important. Yang Dingtian said. Is it about me? Huan Yu asked. It is about you. Yang Dingtian said. You are so annoying. Huan Yu punched Yang Dingtian's chest and said, I originally didn't want to know about such important and heavy matters. But after you said it, I became very curious. Tell me then. Yang Dingtian said. Then I will start from a very, very long time ago. Go ahead. But if I fall asleep while listening, you can't blame me. Huan Yu said. This matter should have started from 7 years ago. At that time, I had just arrived at Cloud Heaven City. Yan Yan was captured by Qin Xiaobai's faction and was framed for murder. In order to save her, I requested for a martial arts duel, and Qin Xiaobai wanted to make use of this opportunity to kill me. Yang Dingtian said. At that time, his cultivation was much higher than mine. He was about 2 levels higher than me. I was completely at a loss. I went to the Temple of Blood, which was the territory of the evil ways. I wanted to go to the blood pool there to seek a breakthrough. Yang Dingtian narrated the story of himself and Duge Fengwu. He didn't leave out any details, including the first time he met Duge Fengwu and the battle between her and Dongfang Bingling. However, when Yang Dingtian talked about how he saw the naked Duge Fengwu in the blood pool, Huan Yu had already closed her eyes and seemed to have fallen asleep. However, Yang Dingtian knew that she wasn't asleep. She was listening more attentively and comfortably. Yang Dingtian spoke very slowly and explained every detail clearly. He talked about how because of Duge Xiao, Duge Fengwu misunderstood that he took the opportunity to take advantage of her. Then, when they met at the Southwest Sea, he saved her multiple times. She forced him to contact the Hidden Sect's fake sword art and impersonate the Hidden Sect's disciple, Wu Ming, to obtain the mystic Fire Devil Hammer from the Divine Weapons Manor. Then, they went to the Fire Cloud Devil Cave to forge the Soul Sword and discover the Mystic Realm. Before Feng Wu wanted to kill him, she handed over her body to him and killed him with a palm strike. At this point, Huan Yu's delicate body trembled slightly. Yang Dingtian continued. In the Mystic Realm, he came back to life because of the holy water. Then, he talked about how he met Feng Wu in the Dongli grassland. Feng Wu, Gudu Huan, and the others fought over the million spirit demon fire and made a move on Dongfang Bingling. He talked about how he and Dongfang Bingling worked together to fight against Dugu Fengwu, Qin Huayu, and Gudu Wuhuan in the valley of the Foxman race. He suddenly pierced Dugu Fengwu's chest with his sword. Huan Yu's delicate body twitched violently. She then covered her chest as though she felt a throbbing pain. He talked about how Dugu Fengwu already had a child. He pierced Feng Wu and almost killed her. He also almost harmed his child. Even though it had been a long time, Yang Dingtian still twitched when he talked about it. His heart was in extreme pain, and he was extremely fearful. If something really happened back then, he could only slit his own throat. Finally, he talked about how Dugu Fengwu and Dongfang Bingling were both poisoned by the soul-devouring demon Mysterious Demon. Yang Dingtian wanted to use the Tur crystal to save one of them. Dongfang Bingling chose to save Dugu Fengwu and snatched her child away from her and brought it to the Cloud Heaven City. Dugu Shao wiped her memories, changed her appearance, and sent her to the Lost Abyss. It was to prevent Dugu Fengwu from getting involved in the battle between the righteous and evil. It was to prevent her and Yang Dingtian from killing each other. At this point, Huan Yu's face was completely covered in tears. Her delicate body was twitching. I'm sorry. After he finished, Yang Dingtian could only keep repeating these 3 words. Chapter 897. After a long time, Huan Yu lifted her head and said delicately, Husband, this Dugu Fengwu is too pitiful. Yang Dingtian was instantly stunned. Could it be that he didn't make it clear? He had already made it very clear. At the end, he even mentioned Yun Zhenu and Queen Hai Xian's evil soul spirit experiments on them. Anyone would be able to tell that this Dugu Fengwu was Huan Yu herself. This woman should be considered smart. How could she not tell? But a pitiful person must have a hateful side, Huan Yu said. Therefore, I feel that you didn't do anything wrong in this matter. Dugu Fengwu's tragedy is more of a personal tragedy. She is too headstrong. If she had brought the child and followed Yang Dingtian to Cloud Heaven City, wouldn't everything be fine? Yang Dingtian was even more stunned. She even had a comment? In an instant, Yang Dingtian's incomparably guilty atmosphere and Dugu Fengwu's tragic atmosphere were completely destroyed by this woman. Huan, you don't hate me? Yang Dingtian asked. Huan Yu said, What does this have to do with me? You are my husband and the father of my child. You are the person closest to me. Do you think I'll hate you for an irrelevant woman? Am I that stupid? In an instant, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but touch Huan Yu's forehead. He was afraid that she had experienced so much, or perhaps some soul spirit experiments had caused her to have some problems with her intelligence. Perhaps anyone would be able to tell that Yang Dingtian's story was about herself. What are you touching? Huan Yu grabbed Yang Dingtian's hand and said, What's there to touch on the forehead? After a long time, Yang Dingtian finally said, Huan, you don't understand, or are you pretending? You don't have to suffer like this. You think I have a problem with my brain? Huan Yu asked. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, I have indeed seen women with problems with their brains, and it wasn't just one. But you should be fine. Idiot. Huan Yu kissed Yang Dingtian's lips and said, The story you told is very touching and true. But let me ask you, husband, is that woman related to me? Nothing? Was it all right? It was clearly the same body. Then, Yang Dingtian suddenly understood. Oh, does it matter? Although it was the same body. However, from the perspective of Huan Yu's current thoughts, it was indeed hard for her to place herself in Dugu Fengwu's shoes. Moreover, she was at her happiest right now. Was she supposed to take Feng Wu's place and take her place? Subsequently, Huan Yu's beautiful eyes widened as she said, Hey! You can't be thinking of letting that Dugu Fengwu appear in front of you and be subdued by you again, or to torture you again to satisfy some unknown hobby of yours, right? Yang Dingtian's eyes instantly widened. Even though the situation that Huan Yu described was indeed very tempting, Yang Dingtian really didn't think about it. Then, Huan Yu suddenly twisted Yang Dingtian's waist and said, "Hey, you can't be thinking of me as her, and that's why you married me, right? Don't tell me you don't like me as a person?" Yang Dingtian was even more speechless. Then, he felt a wave of pain from his waist. It was because he had turned 90 degrees counterclockwise, and it was so painful that he was twitching. "Men are all bad things," Huan Yu said. "You don't like those who are obedient to you. Instead, you like those who are forceful and want to torture you. Only then will you have a sense of accomplishment. You have such a hobby, and I can satisfy you." Then she opened her small mouth and bit Yang Dingtian's chest fiercely. "Pain, pain, pain, pain!" Yang Dingtian instantly cried out miserably and begged for mercy. After letting go of Yang Dingtian's chest, Huan Yu used her small tongue to lick off the fresh blood at the corner of her mouth. This little girl's bite was really vicious, and a deep bite mark really appeared on Yang Dingtian's chest. Furthermore, it was already bleeding. It was really unknown if she was taking revenge for Dugu Fengwu, or if she was angry that Yang Dingtian married her because of Dugu Fengwu. After a long time, Huan Yu suddenly asked, "Husband, do you miss her very much?" Yang Dingtian thought for a moment and nodded. "Yes, my thinking was a little extreme in the past, and I didn't handle things well. In fact, if I was gentler and more resolute back then, many things wouldn't have happened. I still couldn't let go of my pride, and I took my anger out on her because of Dong Fang Bingling, which resulted in such an outcome." After a long time, Huan Yu suddenly said, "Is Huan Yu not good enough?" Yang Dingtian was startled. That's right, was Huan Yu not good enough? Did Fengwu have to appear and make Huan Yu disappear? After that, the two of them hugged quietly and didn't speak anymore. Suddenly, Huan Yu said, "Husband, approximately how long more do we need to reach the southern barbarian continent?" 2 days. Yang Dingtian said. "Why don't we make a trip to the central capital and take a look at that slave Yunjanu?" Huan Yu said. Are you sure you want to go?" Yang Dingtian asked. Huan Yu said. "All right." 4 hours later, Yang Wu's baby woke up. Yang Dingtian carried her and took Huan Yu to the demon Vulture King and flew to the central capital as fast as possible. In just over 4 hours, they had arrived at the headquarters of the Council of Light. When they entered Slave Yunjanu's office, she was still fighting among countless documents. Obviously, she enjoyed the process. After Yang Dingtian came in, Slave Yunjanu didn't even raise her head. She said directly, "Hey, you came to see me at this time. Have you finished your business in the Naga Empire? Shouldn't you accompany me to the southern barbarian continent? Why did you come to the central capital to see me? Do you have any ulterior motives?" After that, she raised her head and saw Huan Yu and the baby Yang Wu in her arms. Her beautiful and charming face was slightly stunned as she said, "Madam Huan Yu? Miss Wooer?" "Baby, call me Auntie," Huan Yu said. "Auntie Nu, Yang Wu said. "Yes." Slave Yunjanu's beautiful face twitched. She wanted to say something intimate, but she couldn't say it. When she was in Cloud Sky City, she was like this when she held Jiangli. She wanted to show affection and praise, but it was very unnatural. Therefore, it seemed that she was a little cold to the child. That was Feng Wu's personality. She was always like this. However, it was a little contradictory when matched with Slave Yunjanu's charm. Then, there was an awkward silence. Huan Yu knew the relationship between the two and knew what had happened. Slave Yunjanu didn't know it clearly, but she was smart enough to guess it. She had guessed it long ago. Huan Yu was eager to meet her, but she didn't know what to say. You are so beautiful," Huan Yu said. You too," Slave Yunjanu said unnaturally. Huan Yu said, You have handled so many things. You are amazing." Slave Yun said, "You led the resistance army in the Naga Empire to resist Queen Hai Xian for so many years. You are even more amazing." After flattering each other, they didn't know what to say. The two of them were originally strangers. However, they were very close because their souls were in each other's bodies. However, this exchange of souls didn't bring their original memories. Therefore, this soul inherited a new body and new memories. Therefore, both of them became new people. Huan Yu finally thought of something and said, "Oh, this is my daughter. Do you want to hold her?" "Okay." "Ah." Slave Yunjun said and reached out. "I don't want to." But Yang Wu didn't give him face and turned her face away. Then, Slave Yunjun withdrew her hand awkwardly. Then we will leave." Huan Yu couldn't bear the awkward atmosphere and wanted to leave with her daughter. "And then I won't send you off. See you next time," Slave Yun said. Then Huan Yu left with her daughter. Yang Dingtian didn't know if he should stay or leave. "I will wait for you outside. Hurry up." Huan Yu rolled her eyes at Yang Dingtian as if this awkward meeting was his fault. She had forgotten that she was the one who wanted to meet Slave Yunjenu. After Huan Yu left, Slave Yunjenu rolled his eyes at Yang Dingtian and said, "This is all your fault." Yang Dingtian was speechless. What did this have to do with him? After a long while, Slave Yun said, "Actually, there was a period of time when I felt strange. It was as if after a long sleep, I became another person. I recalled many things in the past and felt strange. Why would I do such a thing? Then, I felt disdainful and mocked myself, thinking that I was stupid. After a long time, I gradually felt more natural." Then, Slave Yunjenu raised both his hands and said, "Look, what's the difference between my hands?" Yang Dingtian looked for a while and said, "There's no difference." "Idiot," Slave Yunjenu said. "Can't you see? My left hand is a little worn. You can see that I used to practice with my left hand. But somehow, I used my right hand to hold a sword and write with my right hand. But many times, when I unintentionally held a brush, I would use my left hand." Yang Dingtian said, "My master, Dongfang Minmi, took over Uncle Ling Qingchen's body. But his memories are all his own. None of them are Uncle Ling Qingchen's. Of course, when he self-destructed, his soul escaped, so he lost a lot of his memories. He can't remember many things." "Idiot," Slave Yun said. "When Master Dongfang's soul took over, Senior Ling Qingchen's memories and soul were all destroyed by you. It was an empty body. However, our situation is different. You know what happened to your body?" Yang Dingtian asked. "I found out earlier than you did," Slave Yun said. "I'm not stupid. I wasn't sure before, but now that you brought her here, I can be sure. And some records of the soul transfer technique, when a living person's soul flows, it can't take away their complete memories. This is because the soul and memories are not a whole. The soul is a kind of energy, while the memories are a kind of information stored in the brain." Yang Dingtian said, "Your fierce look is becoming more and more like her," Slave Yun said, "because I'm trying to get rid of the memories of my original body. I'm trying to regain my independent personality. Of course, I'm still affected by the original memories of this body. Otherwise, I wouldn't have tried to seduce you again and again. Even though I don't care about the love between men and women, I still yearn for it." Then, Slave Yun said coquettishly, "My heart is in a mess now, and I'm at my weakest. This is also the best chance for you to trick me into your room. Don't you want to try?" Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat. He said, I don't dare." "Humph. If you miss this chance, there won't be a next time." Slave Yun rolled her eyes and said, "Then get lost. That woman has been waiting for you for a long time." Yang Dingtian said, "Then I'll come and see you again next time." Get lost, you annoying person." Slave Yun turned around and said. Yang Dingtian walked out. "Wait," Slave Yun said. Yang Dingtian stopped again. "Come, hug me," Slave Yun said. Yang Dingtian walked forward and hugged her gently. Slave Yun grabbed his hand and placed it on her waist. She asked, "How do I compare to her?" You're very seductive," Yang Dingtian said honestly. I can feel it." "You're not being honest anymore," Slave Yun said. Her breathing was a little hurried, and her body was gradually heating up. Then Yunjena's little mouth kissed him on the lips, She grabbed his hand and pressed it down hard on her waist. She said, "Enjoy it. This is the only chance to take advantage of me. In the future, I will continue to be single." Yang Dingtian grabbed her hand with a little force. Slave Yun's body trembled. Then, she pushed him and said, "All right, time's up. You can go now." Then, she sat back on her desk and continued to fight with countless documents. Yang Dingtian left with his mind in a mess. Together with Huan Yu, he rode on the demon eagle King Jia and flew toward the fleet. Huan Yu carried her daughter and pinched a certain part of Yang Dingtian's body. She whispered, "Shameless woman." After Yang Dingtian left, Slave Yun immediately left her desk and rushed to her bedroom. She only came out after 15 minutes. She had changed her clothes from inside to outside. Not only that, she had even changed into a snow-white male outfit. Yang Dingtian brought Huan Yu and landed on the secret fleet. 2 days later, the huge fleet finally arrived at the southern barbarian continent. At this time, a huge pier had been built on the old site of the Queen's new city. The pier and the sea were completely empty. Hundreds of thousands of rebels who had their memories wiped away saw a brand new land after they came out of the ship. There were countless half-human race and countless houses. They did not know how they escaped from the Holy Valley and how they came here. However, they remembered the desperate experience in the Holy Valley, the experience of starving and waiting for death. At this time, seeing this brand new city and brand new land, countless people were overjoyed. Yang Dingtian smiled and said, "From now on, this is your home. You are a part of the Council of Light. Long live, long live." The hundreds of thousands of half-human rebels could no longer hold it in. Tears filled their eyes and they cheered loudly. After suffering the tyranny of the Snake Men Empire and a few years in the Holy Valley, they thought that they were going to die. Who knew that they could be reborn, saved, and have a home? Some of the half-human race even knelt down and sniffed the soil on the ground and rubbed the soil on their faces. Settling down hundreds of thousands of half-human race was a piece of cake for the Council of Light. Originally, someone had suggested that the resistance army should be separated into different towns and villages. However, Yang Dingtian still refused and allowed this group of half-human race to gather together. He had even selected an area that was similar to the Foxman race's east parting grassland. It was several tens of thousands of square kilometers and had huge valleys and clean lakes. Yang Dingtian led Huan Yu and day by day Bella to the headquarters of the Council of Light in the southern barbarian continent. Today, they would confirm day by day Bella's position as the second commander of the southern barbarian continent defense zone and her position in the Council of Light. Also, the elites of the half-human race would enter the frontline army of the Council of Light. However, in the castle, they had to start with the most important thing, which was the Vulture Palace. That's right. A few days after Yang Dingtian left, the Vulture Palace started their suicidal actions. Chapter 898. In fact, Willingzi was smart. He knew that the forces of the Council of Light were just around the corner, waiting for the Vulture Palace to have internal strife. Therefore, he could not carry out the purge for the time being. But many times, knowing what to do and knowing what to do were two completely different things. He tried very hard to endure and did not carry out the purge. Instead, he tried to rope in the higher-ups of the Vulture Palace. Of course, the higher-ups of the Vulture Palace were also half reluctant and half willing. They were prepared to sit on the fence between Willingzi and Yang Dingtian and take advantage of both sides. Willingzi was also aware of this, but he also pinched his nose and accepted it. He was prepared to use underhanded methods to carry out the purge slowly. However, it was clear that the spirit vulture was not that patient. After finding an opportunity, she immediately took action and killed the woman who had spoken rudely to her. And this woman happened to be the concubine of one of the higher-ups of the Vulture Palace. Therefore, this higher-up went to question Willingzi. After learning that it was Vulture who had done it privately, he immediately asked Willingzi to punish Vulture. Of course, Willingzi was extremely angry and could only kick the ball around. As a result, this higher-up began to collude with the Council of Light more openly. Meanwhile, Ling Jiu was constantly fanning Wu Lingzi's ears, saying that even if Wu Lingzi was magnanimous, he would still go and seek refuge with Yang Dingtian. Why didn't he take advantage of the fact that Yang Dingtian wasn't around and carry out a purge? Wu Lingzi was already angry and did not have much patience. He suddenly felt that Vulture made a lot of sense. Thus, his great purge began. Wu Lingzi, who had lived to this age, had a very flawed personality. It was not easy for him to pinch his nose and hold back his anger before. Now that he had exploded, it was terrible. That night, he led his trusted subordinates and personally attacked the Vulture Palace, causing rivers of blood to flow. The higher-ups of the Vulture Palace were also looking for trouble. They were blinded by Wu Lingzi's compromise and concession. They thought that with the Council of Light, Wu Lingzi would not dare to do anything to them. As a result, they gradually let down their guard. In the end, almost all of the higher-ups who were at odds with Wu Lingzi were killed in one night. There weren't many left. The remaining high-ranking officials were scared out of their wits. They fled the Vulture Palace that very night, and came to the territory of the Council of Light to seek protection. The Vulture Palace, which was already in an unstable state, was completely destroyed by Wu Lingzi's massacre. What followed next was complete panic, and countless people fled one after another. The Council of Light took the opportunity to fish in troubled waters, so many people who were not on Wu Lingzi's purge list died mysteriously. In short, there were people who suddenly died every day. Then, all the crimes were put on Wu Lingzi's head. Even later, Wu Lingzi clearly did not kill people, but more and more people died. Later, even Wu Lingzi's direct subordinates began to die. Then, it was said that it was a counterattack by the forces opposing Wu Lingzi. In this way, the Vulture Palace became a complete mess in an instant. People killed each other. Almost everyone in the palace felt insecure. Except for a few, anyone could suddenly lose their life. Wu Lingzi really wanted to vomit blood. Damn it, the deaths of so many people had nothing to do with him. Why did all the crimes fall on him? But no matter what, yellow mud went into his crotch. Even if it was not shit, it was shit. Moreover, he was an extremely prideful person. He simply disdained to explain. Therefore, he could not clear his name even if he jumped into the Yellow River. Such chaos and killings lasted for half a month. Then, 60% of the entire Vulture Palace's intermediate and advanced martial artists died, nearly 10,000 people. Hundreds of the senior commanders of the Black Vulture Corps also died mysteriously. Almost all the martial artists in the Vulture Palace fled, escaping this vortex of killing. The commanders of the Black Vulture Corps also completely lost their sense of security, and led the Black Vulture Corps to defect. According to the latest data, the number of defectors in the entire Black Vulture Corps had exceeded 150,000. In addition, there were 30,000 to 40,000 Black Vulture Corps soldiers who wanted to defect to the Snake People Empire. In the end, they were intercepted by the Council of Light. After a small-scale battle, the Black Vulture Corps that defected to the Snake People Empire were all captured. In this way, more than 90% of the Black Vulture Corps, the most important force in the entire Vulture Palace, had entered the arms of the Council of Light. In the Vulture Palace, there were originally tens of thousands of martial artists. Now, there was at most less than 20% left, and all of them were Wu Lingzi's direct subordinates. This unforeseen event had truly caused Yang Dingtian to be extremely surprised. Originally, Yang Dingtian had planned to use half a year to annex the entire Black Vulture Corps and swallow the fruit of victory, the southern barbarian continent. He didn't expect that the Vulture Palace would collapse on its own. In just over a month, the Vulture Palace, once one of the strongest martial arts sects, collapsed just like that. In fact, the Vulture Palace, as a unified force, had already collapsed the moment Wu Dozi became the new master. This was because Wu Lingzi's compromise and concession made all the Vulture Palace experts see that he was fierce in appearance but weak in heart. Wu Dozi, on the other hand, acted too fiercely and had only been in power for a short period of time. After he took over, he basically used those who opposed Willingzi. He didn't use those who were capable and had a strong cultivation base, but had been used by Willingzi before. Therefore, the Vulture Palace's loyalty to Willingzi had collapsed, but their loyalty to Wu Dozi hadn't been established yet. In this kind of old force, losing one's loyalty basically meant that it would collapse. Of course, this kind of old force also included the Council of Light. If Yang Dingtian died, the Council of Light would also be difficult to avoid the situation of being torn apart. Sect leader, how should we deal with the Vulture Palace, which has been largely destroyed? Dong Fangminmi asked. Yang Dingtian. Now, in the Vulture Palace, how many experts are above the Great Grand Master level? How many are Grand Master level experts? More than half of the Vulture Palace's Great Grand Masters died in this internal strife. The rest basically defected to our side. At this time, there should only be 3 in the Vulture Palace. And there shouldn't be more than 30 Grandmasters, Qin Wanchou said. Yang Dingtian. They don't plan to come over? Dong Fangminmi. These people should be Willingzi's most direct subordinates. It should be very, very difficult for them to come over. Yang Dingtian fell into deep thought. How to deal with Willingzi? This was the most difficult step. First of all, when Yang Dingtian wasn't sure that he could kill him, he must be completely enraged and not force him into a dead end. Otherwise, if he were to go on a killing spree against the Radiant Congress, it would truly be a great disaster. The best result, of course, would be for him to join the Council of Light. But this was impossible. This person had already lost any faith and was extremely selfish. It was absolutely impossible for him to become a comrade in arms with Yang Dingtian. Then, this person couldn't be killed, nor could he be pulled in. It was really, really troublesome. Sect Master, is it really impossible to kill him? Dong Fangminmi. Just like how we dealt with Wu Dozi. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, Willingzi's cultivation is completely unfathomable. His cultivation method is different from everyone else. Let me put it this way. In these countless years, he has almost devoured the energy of countless powerful wandering souls and used countless lives to balance yin and yang. In short, this person's cultivation is very, very amazing. Between him and Queen Hai Xian, who is stronger, I really don't know. Dong Fangminmi's breathing suddenly stagnated. Really, everyone was confused by Willingzi's appearance and cowardice. How strong could such a person be? He was just like a piece of trash. It was really strange to be so timid and afraid of death to this extent. Dong Fangminmi said. Then if you marry Vulture, is it possible to win over Willingzi? Impossible. Yang Dingtian. If it's possible, I can grit my teeth and marry Vulture. But now Willingzi is already extremely afraid of the demon King Wentian, and he is already drooling over first-class evil spirits. I can say that for a first-class evil spirit, he can give up everything. Vulture can't hold him back. Then Yang Dingtian. Vulture is the same. Not to mention a first-class evil spirit, even for a second-class evil spirit, she can sell everything. Suddenly, everyone was completely at a loss of what to do with Wu Lingzi. Since there was nothing they could do, they could only put it aside first. Anyway, Willingzi could be said to be completely timid. As long as he was not forced to a dead end, he was still willing to be an ostrich, bury his head in the sand, and continue to dominate the Vulture Palace. Anyway, as the most important force of the Vulture Palace, the Black Vulture Army, had already entered the hands of the Council of Light. Next was a long process of reorganization and assimilation. Next, the Council of Light began to discuss the establishment of the half-human army, day by day Bella becoming the second commander of the Southern Barbarian Continent Defense Region, and day by day Bella entering the Council of Light Command Department. The outcome was very smooth. As the leader of the Foxman tribe and the leader of the half-human rebellion army, day by day Bella became a member of the Council of Light Command Department. The entire half-human race would establish a first-line army of no more than 150,000 soldiers. Of course, it was actually very difficult for this number of soldiers to enter the Council of Light Command Department, but after all, she represented the entire half-human race. As a member of the command department, day by day Bella's current cultivation of a 6-star Grandmaster was indeed a little low. Therefore, she would enter the first dark territory together with hundreds of Grandmasters and dozens of low-level Grandmasters to cultivate. Of course, this time, Yang Dingtian was only responsible for sending them to the first dark territory. Yao Li and Yao Zi might lead the team. After the meeting, Yang Dingtian once again went to the Vulture Palace to visit Wulingzi. However, he was rejected. The lonely peak where Wulingzi lived had been destroyed by Yang Dingtian, so he lived in a cave. Moreover, he spent most of his time in seclusion. Currently, the entire Vulture Palace was managed by Ling Chuzi. However, Ling Chuzi was an extremely gloomy person and did not want to care about anything at all. Therefore, all the authority of the Vulture Palace fell into the hands of the Vulture. Of course, the Vulture Palace did not have much authority at this point. Those who remained were basically Wulingzi's loyal dogs, and the Vulture could not find anyone to attack. Therefore, the entire Vulture Palace was completely lifeless. In fact, he had even stopped his daily cultivation. As a conventional martial Dao faction, the Vulture Palace was basically useless. As for the last territory of the human kingdoms, it was a fact that it had fallen into the hands of Yang Dingtian. Before the Doomsday War arrived, the only things that needed to be dealt with were the Snake Men Empire and the Netherworld Sea. After settling down the half-human race, Yang Dingtian brought Huan Yu and Yang Wu back to his big family in Cloud Heaven City. When he saw Huan Yu, Yang Li did not have much of a reaction. This was because when he left Huan Yu, he was still very young and did not have much of a memory. Moreover, Huan Yu's appearance had obviously changed completely. However, when he saw Yang Wu, he was very surprised. This was because this Yang Wu looked like him, although she was more beautiful than him. When Huan Yu saw Yang Li, her delicate body twitched slightly. Then she stretched out her arms and said, "Can I hug you?" It was obvious that her body reacted to Yang Li. Yang Li's attitude towards his father was not very good, but his attitude towards his mother and auntie was very good. Therefore, he came over obediently and let Huan Yu hug him. When Huan Yu hugged him, she used a lot of strength and even sniffed Yang Li's scent as if she was trying to find some kind of memory. No matter what, this family was one step closer to reunion. Of course, most importantly, Dongfang Bingling was still lost. As for Shima Ningning, she was still a mystery. Of course, this big family would soon have another member. As Yang Dingtian Sr., Dongfang Minmi personally went to Day by Day Bella to propose marriage to Xiang Xiang. When Day by Day Bella received Dongfang Minmi's proposal, her expression became very complicated. Then, she sighed and said, "Although Xiang Xiang is not worthy of the sect master understands the sect master's intentions. But I also know the sect master's good intentions. Xiang Xiang can be considered to have gotten what she wanted." Apart from Dongfang Minmi, Yanyan also personally went to the southern barbarian continent to seek Xiang Xiang's consent. After hearing this news, Xiang Xiang's face revealed not only sweetness but also bitterness. Then, she nodded and said softly, "Thank you, madam, for your help." Yanyan said sympathetically, "Actually, this matter should have been personally asked by my husband. However, he felt that he didn't have the face to come. After all, he wants to monopolize so many sisters. No matter how thick-skinned he is, he would still feel embarrassed." Xiang Xiang pursed her lips and smiled. Her beautiful eyes were filled with anxiety and longing. 3 days later, in Cloud Sky City, a low-key but grand wedding was held. Other than Yang Dingtian's family and the higher-ups of the Council of Light, the remaining guests were all representatives of the half-human race. This was because this wedding symbolized the integration of the half-human race and the human race. Although the wedding wasn't luxurious, it was very lively and enthusiastic. Especially the half-human race, they were completely immersed in a sea of joy. As for Yang Dingtian's children, they were running around crazily as they laughed heartily. At this moment, a figure appeared in front of the great Cloud Sky City and said to the people on the city gate, Please go in and report to your sect master Yang Dingtian that an old friend of the Yin Yang Mirror is here. This person was walking with a limp. It was really an unforgettable old friend, Prince Li Ming. That's right, it was him. Chapter 899. Although Li Ming was limping, his speed was quite fast. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared without a trace. Yang Dingtian stood in place and did not move for a long time. The time had finally come. Two things. The first was the marriage of Li Ming and Dongfang. The second was the Doomsday War. Although Bing Lingswell had already been controlled by the evil spirit, and everything she did wasn't her original intention, Yang Dingtian still wouldn't allow the marriage between her and Li Ming to happen. Moreover, Dongfang Bingling and Yang Dingtian had already been married. Although there were no guests, there was an official marriage contract, and they had bowed to heaven and earth. They were definitely a real couple. Let his wife marry someone else. Even if Yang Dingtian died, he would not let such a thing happen. Even if he did the craziest thing, even if the consequences were huge, Yang Dingtian would stop all of this. All of this happened too suddenly. Originally, Yang Dingtian should have been given more time. It would have been best to let him completely deal with the Vulture Palace and the Naga Empire before the Doomsday War arrived. But now, the Vulture Palace had only dealt with 80% of the war, and the Naga Empire had only rescued a few 100,000 rebels. The rest of the matter of killing Queen Hai-Xian and disintegrating the Naga Empire had not even begun. Now, since the Doomsday War was coming so soon, as the third in command of the evil ways, Crown Prince Li Ming had appeared once again. Yang Dingtian stood in place for a long time until the sun shone into his eyes. Only then did he come to his senses. It was not right for him to stand there in a daze. If even he, the leader, showed a confused expression, then the morale of the Council of Light would be completely destroyed. Thus Yang Dingtian soared into the sky, rode on the demon eagle King Azu, and flew toward Cloud Sky City. Then, in the conference room of Cloud Sky City, Yang Dingtian immediately called for a meeting of the Council of Light's High Command Department. Evil Ways Number 3, Crown Prince Li Ming, has appeared, Yang Dingtian said. As soon as these words came out, everyone present suddenly trembled. Out of everyone present, only Zhuo Qingqi and Qin Wanzhou had direct contact with Li Ming. As for the others, they had only heard of their names and had never seen them before. However, everyone knew how terrifying Li Ming was. No matter how powerful or terrifying a person was, there was no need to see what he had done. Was Ning Wuming, the head of the South Sea Ning clan and Qin Chichi's husband, powerful? That scheme made people tremble in fear. If Ning Wuming had not encountered Zhu Qizhu, who was so powerful, he could have wiped out the entire Council of Light. Ning Wuming was merely Li Ming's lackey. Wu Yuming was powerful enough, wasn't she? In the evil ways, she was ranked below Li Ming. In the human countries, almost all the evil ways secret agents and evil ways forces were all done by Li Ming. Not only that, the yin-yang mirror incident was also planned by Li Ming. Yang Dingtian was played in the palm of his hand. He set a trap for Yang Dingtian to step into. This led to the demonization of Dongfang Bingling and the Queen Devil Queen. In the evil ways, Prince Li Ming was the true successor of the demon king Wentian. Therefore, he was also the next master of the Temple of Annihilation. Therefore, all the higher-ups present were fully aware of this terrifying person. Yang Dingtian continued. He came here for two things. First, he told me that the Legion of Doom has mostly taken shape. The Armageddon War should erupt within this year. Second, he sent me a wedding invitation. He wants to hold a wedding with Dongfang Bingling and invited me to attend. After saying that, Dongfang Minmi's eyelids trembled. Then, the entire hall fell into silence. It was Qin Wanzhou who spoke. Sect Master, you once said that Crown Prince Li Ming wanted Dongfang Bingling to fight with you, kill you, and completely defeat the Tiando League. Then he would marry her with the entire world as a betrothal gift. Yang Dingtian nodded and said, Yes, he said that before. Qin Wanzhou said. Then, why did he change his mind now? Is he someone who would change his mind so easily? Yang Dingtian was silent for a long time, then said, He has a firm will and is as cunning as a fox. He doesn't seem like someone who would change his mind so easily. Qin Wanchou said. Then, since he changed his mind, there should be a reason. And Dongfang Bingling's will has already been suppressed, so it can't be because of her. Does that mean that it's because of you? Yang Dingtian said. I'm a little confused. Marshal Uncle Qin, please say it. Qin Wanchou said. Is it because your performance has greatly surpassed Li Ming's performance? Moreover, our army of the Radiant Parliament has displayed an incomparably astonishing combat strength. As for you, you have also displayed an astonishing cultivation base. Moreover, we're about to completely destroy the Vulture Palace. Even Wu Yuming has completely given up on opposing you. If this continues, it will become more and more disadvantageous for the evil ways. Therefore, he has to disrupt your rhythm, so he put on such a show of marriage. Yang Dingtian said. But now, the demon King Wetian has a huge advantage. The power in his hands far surpasses ours. That's right, Qin Wanchou said. But distant water can't quench a present thirst. You said that Yongshi Wentian has become the chairman of Little Western Paradise again, but that place is a so-called democratic system. As the chairman, he can't directly control all the power. The real direct power is in the hands of the various large tribes. And in the Underworld Empire, although Wentian's soul clone has become the Netherworld Ghost Emperor and has countless half-saints and saints in his hands, they are completely sealed off. However, they were completely sealed in the Nether Plane and could not enter the human kingdoms. As for Wentian's soul main body in New Naga, it's even more impossible for him to leave the sealed space in New Naga. When this was said, everyone couldn't help but nod. Qin Wanchou continued. Therefore, the Demon King Wentian has a huge amount of power. It's 10 times, 100 times more than ours. But that's to deal with the God of Chaos, not to deal with the Council of Light. Even the Demon King Wentian's direct opponent is not you. Because of Wu Yoming's failure and Dongli's failure, Crown Prince Li Ming appeared. And if he wants to defeat you, he has to rely on his intelligence and his Legion of Doom. Can we predict that his World Annihilation Army is actually not mature yet? It is still lacking the most crucial link. But time is extremely tight. After you completely deal with the Vulture Palace and the Snake Men Empire, you will completely unify the entire Vitality continent. Coupled with our incomparably powerful Council of Light Legion, he feels that he has no chance of winning. Therefore, he has no choice but to make a move in advance. Finally, Qin Wanchou said, and the so-called marriage between him and Dongfang Nidan is merely a part of his scheme. It's just to throw our rhythm into disarray. Because whether it's the Vulture Palace or the Snake Men Empire, you have to deal with them personally. None of us can do it alone. Yang Dingtian fell into silence. Qin Wanchou's words were very reasonable. The possibility of this was very, very high. If this was the case, Yang Dingtian should completely ignore Li Ming's actions and focus on solving the Vulture Palace and the Snake Men Empire. As for the marriage between Li Ming and Dongfang Mudan, it was just a part of the plan. Moreover, Li Ming seemed to have jokingly said that he was marrying Dongfang Mudan and not Dongfang Bingling. However, to let Yang Dingtian just ignore this matter and focus on dealing with the Vulture Palace and the Snake Men Empire, he really couldn't do it. Even if he knew that it might be a scheme, Yang Dingtian couldn't just sit back and watch. Dongfang Bingling marrying Li Ming was absolutely not something that could happen, even if it was just a possibility. Well, then if Yang Dingtian didn't sit back and watch, what could he do? Go to the Temple of Annihilation and directly snatch the marriage? First of all, was his cultivation enough? Second, Dongfang Bingling's will was completely suppressed. Even if Yang Dingtian went to snatch it, what could he do? He still couldn't break the entanglement of the evil spirit. Most importantly, everyone knew that the Abyssal Sea was in the far west, and the Temple of Annihilation was also in the far west. During the previous Doomsday War, the Legion of Doom had swept out from the Abyssal Sea. However, where exactly was the Abyssal Sea? No one present had been there before. Perhaps other than the core of the evil ways, no one knew the answer to this question. At the same time, the lame Crown Prince Li Ming had already appeared in the Temple of Blood. Li Ming pays his respects to Palace Master Dugu. Li Ming bowed. Dugu Xiao bowed deeply and said, Temple of Blood's Palace Master Dugu Xiao pays his respects to young Lord Li Ming. Li Ming smiled bitterly and said, Palace Master Dugu, there's no need to be so courteous. Dugu Xiao smiled but didn't say anything. Li Ming said, The Doomsday War is imminent. Is Palace Master Dugu ready? Dugu Xiao said, There's nothing much to prepare. I'm just preparing to die. Li Ming said, From your tone, it seems a little bleak. Why are you so pessimistic? I'm not pessimistic, Dugu Xiao said. Li Ming was silent for a moment, and then said, Back then, among the few of us who entered the soul-leaving palace, you were the only one who didn't ask for anything. Therefore, you also became the most detached person. However, I seem to know that you didn't seem to not want anything. Dugu Xiao said, It was too long ago. I can't remember. Li Ming said, I didn't know at first. I heard it from Queen Hyaxian. I heard that your daughter wasn't born but was carried over. Was she carried out from the soul-leaving palace? Dugu Xiao said, If young lord says so, then it must be so. Li Ming said, I heard that apart from Dugu Fengwu, you also have another daughter. She looked very strange since young and had scales all over her body. I wonder where your daughter is. Can you invite her out for me to meet? Dugu Xiao revealed a sorrowful expression and said, Unfortunately, a few years ago, she couldn't figure it out and committed suicide. Li Ming's expression jumped and said, Oh? When did this happen? Dugu Xiao said, It was when I changed Dugu Fengwu's appearance, wiped away her memories, and sent her to the Misty Abyss. Oh, the Misty Abyss is the later Queen Hyaxian? Of course, I seem to have misjudged her and thought that she was an outsider. Li Ming said, Oh, that's really unfortunate. However, are you sure she didn't escape or was kidnapped by someone? Like Yang Dingtian? Dugu Xiao said, Of course not. If she was by Yang Dingtian's side, not only would I know, but I believe young lord would know too. Li Ming fell into a short silence. Then, he smiled and said, You also know that apart from the four of us, there's still one more first-grade evil spirit slot. I wonder if you're interested? Dugu Xiao shook his head and said, It's too wasteful to give it to me. I don't need it. Li Ming smiled and said, I understand. Then, he took out a wedding invitation and said, This is an invitation for you. 2 months later, at the Temple of Annihilation in the Infernal Ocean, I will have a wedding with Mu Dan of the East. It can be considered as the prelude to the World Extermination War. Please be sure to attend. Dugu Xiao said, Even if I want to go, I don't know where the Infernal Ocean is. Li Ming smiled and said, At that time, of course, someone will bring you to the Infernal Ocean. All right, I'll definitely go. Dugu Xiao said. Li Ming said, All right, then I'll take my leave. Goodbye. I won't send you off. Dugu Xiao said. Then, Li Ming left the Temple of Blood and headed to the next place. 1 day later, Crown Prince Li Ming left the Joyous Palace. Then, he flew at full speed in the direction of the Vulture Palace. After 1 day and 1 night, he entered the southern barbarian continent and entered the Vulture Palace. From the beginning to the end, every place he went to, there would be a steady stream of information coming to Cloud Sky City. Towards the arrival of Crown Prince Li Ming, Wolingzi and Vulture's reactions were complete shock and ecstasy. Wolingzi rushed out barefooted and knelt down without saying a word. Old slave Wolingzi greets young master. Yang Dingtian is too much of a bully. Young master, please uphold justice for the old slave. The meeting of the Council of Light didn't have any results. Of course, there wouldn't be any results either, because this decision could only be made by Yang Dingtian alone. As long as he made the decision, there would be results. Hence, Yang Dingtian stayed in the Cloud Heaven City and didn't do anything else. He just accompanied his child and tried to find his own heart from it. A few days had passed, and Yang Dingtian still hadn't made a decision. Should he go to the infernal ocean? Should he attend Crown Prince Li Ming's so-called wedding? Facing the situation of the Snake People Empire and the Vulture Palace, what should he do? At this moment, the Jiao Liao suddenly entered the valley and said, "Sect Master, Miss Ling Wu is here to pay a visit." Yang Dingtian was shocked. "Ling Wu? Why is she here?" Then he asked, "Is she alone or together with Wu Yuming?" The Jiao Liao said, "Just Miss Ling Wu alone." Yang Dingtian was even more puzzled. Logically speaking, she wouldn't be separated from Wu Yuming at this moment. Why did she come alone? Therefore, he put down the little daughter in his arms and said to Yang Yichen, "Foster father has something to do. Can you play chess with Sister Wu?" Yang Yichen stood up and bowed like a little adult. "Yes, foster father." Then, Yang Dingtian walked out of Cloud Sky Castle and saw Ling Wu at a mountain peak not far away. She really made people unable to recognize her. Chapter 900. Hai Xian had left just like that. Originally, she was here to borrow his seed. However, she backed out at the last moment. Therefore, she directly broke through the fog, allowing Yang Dingtian to see the light at once. In terms of intelligence, Qin Wanzhou and Dongfang Minmi were not inferior to Queen Hai Xian. However, due to their cultivation and race, their vision was not as high as Hai Xian's. This resulted in them being unable to see through the fog of Li Ming's trap. Yang Dingtian flew back to Cloud Heaven City. At this moment, Ling Wu was still waiting here. Seeing Yang Dingtian's expression, Ling Wu said, "Yang Dingtian, have you thought through some things clearly?" Yang Dingtian replied, "Am I that obvious?" Ling Wu nodded her head and said, "You're a person who writes everything on your face and eyes." Following that, Ling Wu said, "Then are you still going to meet Big Brother Yuming?" Yang Dingtian replied, "Since I've already promised you, I'll definitely go." After that, Yang Dingtian and Ling Wu rode on King Demon Eagle Ajia and flew towards the south. After flying past the Sunset Mountains, Iron Furnace City, and the Southwest Sea region, they arrived at the flourishing and brand new Southwest continent. At this moment, Yang Dingtian could no longer recognize the entire Southwest continent. It was too flourishing. It was so flourishing that it had even surpassed the Northwest continent. The Southwest continent's geographical environment had always been better than the Northwest continent. The entire continent was not covered in desolation. Instead, it was filled with dense primeval forests. However, in the World Extermination War 200 years ago, the traitor of the Tiando League, Li Tianxiao, killed the entire Southwest Alliance army. Following that, the Tiando League suppressed the Southwest continent, causing the martial arts civilization here to wither and gradually degenerate into a barbarian land. After a few years of construction by the Council of Light, this place had already become an incomparably flourishing new continent. Even after a few more years, the West capital would no longer be the largest city in the entire West continent. There were even people who had proposed to move the West capital to the Southwest continent. After flying over nearly 10,000 miles of the Southwest continent, they arrived at the boundless ocean. In the beginning, there were still many islands, but in the end, it was completely a vast sea. In the end, they entered the Devil's Sea. The so-called Devil's Sea area was filled with terrifying whirlpools and shocking lightning. Here, the sun could not be seen from day to day, as if it was the end of the world. Before the demon vulture went through the training in the illusion of the taboo continent, there was basically no winged cavalry that could cross the entire Devil's Sea area. Of course, the current demon vulture King Azu could fly tens of thousands of meters high. Naturally, he would be fine. After reaching the Devil's Sea, they kept heading south, south, and south. At this point, they were already more than 60 to 70,000 kilometers away from the Southwest continent. He really didn't know how far he would go before he reached the end of the world. After crossing tens of thousands of miles of the Devil's Water domain, the entire ocean suddenly became tranquil. The dark blue ocean instantly turned dark green. Hundreds of meters tall waves disappeared, and so did the enormous whirlpool, which was hundreds of miles wide. The entire ocean had turned into a beautiful piece of jade. It was as smooth as a mirror and as beautiful as a fairyland. "We're here!" Suddenly, Ling Wu said. Yang Dingtian and Ling Wu jumped down from the demon vulture King Azu. Then Yang Dingtian said, "Azu, wait here. When you want to eat, take the elixir yourself. Understand?" The demon vulture King Azu nodded. Then, he couldn't wait and dived into the ocean. "Are there any huge demonic beasts in the water?" Yang Dingtian asked hurriedly. "No," Ling Wu said. Ling Wu pulled Yang Dingtian and dived into the ocean at lightning speed. The two of them dove deeper and deeper. Finally, they were so deep that they couldn't believe it. They had already dived hundreds of miles. Soon, the water around them disappeared completely. The surroundings were empty. There wasn't even any air. Yang Dingtian and Ling Wu kept falling. 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 They didn't know how long they had been falling. Suddenly, the two stopped abruptly. This was because they had entered a zero-gravity region. The surroundings of the illusion were completely dark. Moreover, the entire world had become three-dimensional. Ling Wu grabbed Yang Dingtian's hand tightly. She turned her body and found a certain direction. Then, she said, "Over there." Then, the two of them spurted out mystic flames. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Like lightning, they flew dozens of miles to the southwest. Then, Ling Wu stopped. Then, she changed her direction and flew dozens of miles to the north. It was very strange. This place was obviously empty and could be reached directly. However, Ling Wu seemed to be walking in a maze with hundreds and thousands of turns. "The energy field here is very strange. It looks perfectly straight, but it might not be perfectly straight. Therefore, it's like walking in a maze," Ling Wu said. "Back then, Big Brother Netherworld spent a good few years to draw the route here." Yang Dingtian asked. "Is this secret realm powerful?" "Powerful. It's very terrifying," Ling Wu said. "If it wasn't for Big Brother Netherworld, I would have died countless times." Yang Dingtian asked. "How many breakthroughs have you made in your cultivation during these 2 years?" Ling Wu said. "It can't be compared to you. I've broken through to 6-star level 9 Great Grand Master." Yang Dingtian was speechless. Then, he said, "It's already very heaven-defying." "All right." Ling Wu cast a coquettish glance at him and said, "Don't make fun of me." Yang Dingtian asked, "Now, does the second-grade evil spirit's body have a big impact on you?" Ling Wu said, "It's all right. I've always been walking in front of the second-grade evil spirit's body." At this moment, a ball of hazy light appeared in the darkness not far ahead. "It's over there," Ling Wu said. Then, she pulled Yang Dingtian and suddenly shot toward that ball of light. Whoosh! They suddenly drilled into this ball of light. Yang Dingtian only felt a chill on his face. He had directly entered an unfamiliar secret realm. This secret realm was still incomparably huge. Moreover, this secret realm was different from all the secret realms Yang Dingtian had experienced. He wasn't inside some castle. Instead, it looked like he was in the vast wilderness. In front of him was a magnificent city. It was densely packed with gorgeous houses. Moreover, Yang Dingtian had never seen such an architectural style before. However, this city was basically about to be destroyed. It was about to die. This was because the dark matter that Yang Dingtian had seen before had basically engulfed everything. Only less than 1/10 of this magnificent and huge city was left. There was only a small corner that hadn't been engulfed. This dark matter would completely engulf everything. There was no energy that could destroy it, or save it. After entering the secret realm, Ling Wu immediately pulled Yang Dingtian and shouted loudly, Big brother, where are you?" There wasn't any reply in the huge city. Wu Yuming didn't give any response. Ling Wu said, "Big brother, I've found Yang Dingtian. No matter what decision you've made, come out and meet him first, okay?" The entire city that was engulfed by darkness remained silent. "Big brother, I beg you." Ling Wu sobbed and said, "If you don't come out, I'll go in. I'll be imprisoned forever with you. A moment later, a gust of wind blew. After that, a figure appeared in front of Yang Dingtian. It was none other than Wu Yuming. However, he was no longer as incomparably handsome as before. Instead, he had become emaciated and his hair had turned completely white. His eye sockets were deeply sunken. His entire body was so thin that he was just skin and bones. His entire body was filled with densely packed cracks. However, not even blood could flow out from them. He was like a completely different person compared to that peerlessly handsome man from before. Seeing Wu Yuming in such a state, Ling Wu was completely stupefied. She immediately burst into tears. You're here? Wu Yuming nodded at Yang Dingtian. Yes. Yang Dingtian said. I'm here mainly to ask Brother Yuming to clear up my doubts. Go ahead. Wu Yuming said. However, try to be quick. I don't have much time. Yes. Yang Dingtian said. Prince Li Ming suddenly appeared and sent me an invitation. He asked me to attend his wedding with Dongfang Bingling 2 months later. Of course, Dongfang Bingling and I have already gone through the wedding ceremony. She is already my wife. Where are you going to attend it? Wu Yuming asked. The Abyssal Ocean, Temple of Annihilation. Yang Dingtian said. Wu Yuming frowned. Then, his entire body suddenly convulsed violently. A frightening green flame suddenly emerged from his body. This was a first-grade evil spirit that was trying to suppress his will. Without saying anything, Wu Yuming directly picked up the dagger and stabbed it towards his heart. Yes. He let out a painful sound. His entire body began to convulse as his life force rapidly drained away. Instantly, he entered a short period of death. Then, the energy of the first-grade evil spirit had to use up all its energy to help him revive and restore his heart. In this way, the energy of the first-grade evil spirit had to stop suppressing and controlling his will. Yang Dingtian was stunned. Wu Yuming used this method to resist the suppression of the evil spirit's will. No wonder he had withered to this extent in a short period of time. Don't go. It's definitely a conspiracy. Wu Yuming said. I know Li Ming. This person is extremely proud. He promised to give the entire human country as a dowry to Dongfang Bingling. He will definitely keep his promise. Now that the wedding has been brought forward, it must be a trap. Then Wu Yuming said, Is it because you have something that they are determined to get? Yes. Yang Dingtian nodded and said, The greater space technique. You really got this thing. Wu Yuming was stunned and smiled bitterly. Your temperament is wrong. You shouldn't trust others so easily. You don't have to tell me. But in this way, things are clear. The greater space technique is the thing that the evil ways are most determined to get. Perhaps your order to not kill came about because of this. After all, everyone knows that Xu Wu Piaoyan once studied the greater space technique 10,000 years ago, and you are his only successor. In this world, perhaps only you can learn the greater space technique. Yang Dingtian thought for a moment and agreed. The evil ways no-kill order for Yang Dingtian might not be because of the demon King Wentian's special relationship with him, but because of the greater space technique. Then Wu Yuming said, In short, don't go to his invitation. Yang Dingtian nodded. Then Wu Yuming said, By the way, when did he say the wedding will be held? Yang Dingtian. In 2 months. Oh. Wu Yuming said. Then, the world extermination war is coming. How long? Yang Dingtian was shocked. In 2 months, regardless of whether you fell for their trap or not, regardless of whether they obtained the greater space technique or not, they should start the world extermination war. Wu Yuming said. Yang Dingtian clicked his tongue and said, So soon? Wu Yuming nodded and said, The reason why the world extermination war hasn't started yet is because they haven't obtained the greater space technique yet. Yang Dingtian, believe me, they have already made ample preparations for this world extermination war. In fact, they don't even care about this world extermination war. What they care about is the battle against the god of chaos countless years later. Yang Dingtian. You mean we might lose the world extermination war? Wu Yuming said. I didn't say that, but you must give up on being very confident and arrogant. As for the Legion of Doom, it's not too much to imagine how powerful they are. This might be an army that you've never even thought about. According to my thinking, you have no chance of winning at all. But you know, you're a miracle, and you can't be judged according to normal theory. However, this Armageddon Legion is completely different from the Armageddon Legions of the past. Yang Dingtian was shocked and couldn't help but nod. I know that your Council of Light Legion is already very powerful, but you must not be complacent or even confident, Wu Yuming said. Once the Legion of Doom is activated, perhaps in terms of form and scale, it will be unimaginable to you. Yang Dingtian nodded vigorously. Finally, there's a most important sentence that you must remember, Wu Yuming said slowly. Yang Dingtian immediately became serious and listened carefully. Wu Yuming said word by word. In the eyes of the evil ways, your significance far surpasses the Doomsday War itself. Yang Dingtian's heart was completely shaken. This sentence was very, very, very important. Yang Dingtian's significance surpassed the Doomsday War. This meant that the evil ways didn't care about the Doomsday War at all. In their eyes, the so-called Doomsday War might be like playing house. Their only goal was to defeat the God of Chaos. And Yang Dingtian became the key to the Demon King's victory over the God of Chaos. All right, I should have said most of what I need to say, Wu Yuming said. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath. He was really glad that he had come. He had received an extremely important sentence. His value exceeded the Doomsday War itself. After that, Yang Dingtian said to Wu Yuming, Then is it my turn to speak? All right, Wu Yuming said. I was created because of you. You can persuade me. Yang Dingtian said. Must you imprison yourself forever? Yes, Wu Yuming said. I'd rather die than be free, Yang Dingtian said. But not being free now doesn't mean that you won't be free forever. The evil spirits can rule your will now, but it's not impossible for you to be free in the future. Since you want Ling Wu to defeat the evil spirit's will, why can't you do it yourself and give up instead? Wu Yuming shook her head and said, Yang Dingtian, do you still remember? After I lost that duel, I couldn't find the meaning of life. Therefore, I wandered everywhere. You told me that I was too high up and not down to earth. You advised me to walk around the common people and experience their pain. Yang Dingtian nodded his head. Wu Yuming said, Therefore, I went and lived with Ling Wu among the common people for more than 2 years. What I saw was endless despair and pain. Of course, there was also joy and hope. But generally speaking, the vast majority of people lived in hardship and hardship. I saw people who were seriously ill and waiting for death. I also saw people who were disabled and unable to survive. But these people, no matter how painful and desperate they were still struggling to survive. Therefore, I concluded that the so-called meaning of life is it that even ants drag out their lives? Yang Dingtian was silent for a moment and said, Although this statement is very pessimistic, it's the truth. The meaning of life is to survive. Use all means to let yourself and your loved ones survive. Of course, the greater the power, the greater the responsibility. When one's power reaches a certain extent, it's to let everyone survive as much as possible. Wu Yuming said, That's right, this is the greatest meaning and truth of life. I used to think that defeating the God of Chaos who manipulates fate was the greatest justice. However, this seems to contradict with ants dragging out their lives. This means that one of them is wrong. Later on, I thought that it doesn't matter if this doctrine, that morality, is noble or despicable. Letting the vast majority of people live is the true right and justice. Everything else is empty. Yang Dingtian said, Yes, letting the vast majority of people live has always been a simple truth. It's just that many people think too much and become confused. Wu Yuming said slowly, Letting the vast majority of people live is saving the world. That's what you're doing. Therefore, you're right. You clearly know that your fate is being manipulated by the so-called God of Chaos like a puppet. However, you're still willing to do it. You're very amazing. Yang Dingtian smiled and said, It's just that I haven't thought about the future. I haven't finished the matter in front of me yet, so I'm thinking about something so far away. I'm not down to earth. Wu Yuming looked at the city that was completely devoured by the dark matter behind him and said slowly, "Then I came to this secret realm. I came here many years ago. Only a small part of this place was devoured by the dark matter. Now, it's almost completely devoured. Countless cities and civilizations like this have been devoured by the dark matter. I can feel that this world is being destroyed and dying. Although your plan of saving the world seems like a mantis trying to stop a car, it's still shocking." You're right. Wu Yuming pointed at the dark matter and said, "We're just like this dark matter." Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "No, not just you. Everyone is like this dark matter. Everyone who crazily seeks energy is." Wu Yuming was stunned. After a long time, he muttered to himself, Amazing. All right, I've heard what you said to persuade me." Wu Yuming said, "You should know the result, right?" Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "But I still want to say that if you're completely controlled by the evil spirit and become an enemy for me, I won't care. I'd rather you live and wait for me to save you in the future. Moreover, I have a certain degree of confidence that I can liberate your souls that are ruled by the evil spirit. After your soul is ruled by the evil spirit, it might bring us incomparably huge consequences, but I'm willing to bear it." Then Yang Dingtian said word by word, "So, I implore you to live." Wu Yuming shook his head and said, "Yang Dingtian, I'm not being negative, nor am I escaping, nor am I committing suicide. Instead, I'm choosing to fight in another way. I'd rather die than be free. Please respect my way of fighting." Yang Dingtian understood. He was right. Wu Yuming was really not cowardly, nor was he committing suicide. He was really fighting. He was fighting against a first-grade evil spirit. It was just that the way he chose to fight was extremely extreme. Mutual destruction. Boom! At this moment, green evil spirit flames suddenly rose from his entire body. His entire person was burning fiercely. The final moment has come. Wu Yuming looked at Yang Dingtian and said, "Ling Wu, I'll leave it to you. Make her happy. This is your responsibility." Then, Wu Yuming suddenly turned around and jumped into the city that was engulfed by the dark matter with incomparable determination. He suddenly squeezed into a hole. Puff! This hole was completely sealed. Then, everything inside was completely engulfed, including Wu Yuming. Wu Yuming, with his absolute pride, disappeared from this world forever. Chapter 901. Big Brother! Ling Wu couldn't bear it any longer. She knelt on the ground and cried loudly. Her voice was hoarse and exhausted. Yang Dingtian didn't stop her. Instead, he allowed her to kneel on the ground and cry continuously. Following that, Ling Wu continued to cry. She didn't say, "Why did you abandon me, and why did you leave me alone in this world?" Following that, would Wu Yuming be dead or alive? Yang Dingtian didn't know. Because this kind of dark matter wasn't as simple as imprisoning him. It was completely engulfing him. No matter if it was a house, a person, or anything else, everything would be completely turned into dark matter. Once it was turned into dark matter, even if it had evil spirit energy, could it still survive? Yang Dingtian didn't know. Of course, Yang Dingtian could still rescue Wu Yuming now. This was because he had the eyes of the Naga ancestors. He could turn this kind of dark matter into nothingness. It was still not too late to rescue Wu Yuming before he was completely engulfed. However, Wu Yuming wasn't an ordinary person. No one could change his mind once he had decided on something. Just like what he had said, he didn't give up resisting, nor did he commit suicide. Instead, he chose another way of fighting. It was just that this way of fighting was called mutual destruction. It seemed extremely intense. At this moment, a transparent cube had appeared in Yang Dingtian's hand. This was something that Wu Yuming had quickly stuffed into his hand when he chose mutual destruction. Yang Dingtian didn't know what was inside this cube. However, there was no doubt that it was something very important. Otherwise, Wu Yuming wouldn't have chosen to hand it over to Yang Dingtian before mutual destruction. Ling Wu laid on the ground, crying and crying continuously. It was as if she wanted to release all of her sorrow and pain. After crying for close to an hour, Yang Dingtian stepped forward and held her shoulders gently. All right, we should leave now. Ling Wu turned around and threw herself into Yang Dingtian's embrace. She hugged his waist and continued to cry at the top of her voice. She was really sad, really sad. In this world, the person who treated her the best, the person who was most important to her, had completely disappeared. There would be no one to instruct her earnestly, no one to protect her, and no one to love her so dearly. In this world, no one could replace Wu Yuming's position in her heart. No one could do it. If it weren't for Wu Yuming, she would still be a resentful and insignificant woman. She was a boat girl who had lost her true colors of labor, a vulgar woman who was filled with jealousy and pain, who could not find her direction. Without Wu Yuming, she, Ling Wu, wouldn't have everything she had. Wu Yuming was not a good person, but she was not completely bad. She might seem hypocritical, but in reality, her temperament had reached the extreme. A soul that was always high and mighty, always incomparably arrogant, and always ethereal. He was Ling Wu's relative, her idol. Ling Wu's incomparable admiration for him had surpassed everyone else. Even in the end, when he was as thin as a ghost and was no longer as handsome as before, he was still the #1 handsome man in the world in Ling Wu's heart. No one could replace Wu Yuming's position in her heart. Ling Wu had once asked herself if she had fallen in love with someone else. Had she fallen in love with Wu Yuming? In the end, she realized that this question was meaningless. Because this was worship, this was admiration, and it was purer than the love between a man and a woman. Yang Dingtian would definitely be able to understand such feelings, right? For example, on Earth, there were many people who fervently worshipped Elvis and MJ. Was this the love between a man and a woman? No, it wasn't. However, many girls would choose to break up with their boyfriends because of their idol. As for Ling Wu, the relationship between Wu Yuming and Ling Wu was no longer just that of a fan and an idol. It was more like a relationship of family, and it was the only relationship of family. Ling Wu had already been deserted by everyone, and even her father had left her. The entire world was on the opposite side of her. At this moment, only Wu Yuming was standing behind her, acknowledging her, and protecting her. But now, he had disappeared forever. At the last moment before he disappeared, he had entrusted her to Yang Dingtian. This was the man that she had once loved and hated. Yang Dingtian patted Ling Wu's back lightly and said softly, "It's time to go, it's time to go." After another half an hour, Ling Wu's cries gradually stopped. Afterward, her beautiful eyes were completely red as she looked at Yang Dingtian and said, "Although Big Brother has entrusted me to you, I know that he wishes for me to be independent and self-reliant. I wish for me to be able to truly be by myself." Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Not only do you have to take care of yourself, you also have to shelter those who are weaker than you from the wind and rain, and realize your true self-worth. You don't have to rely on anyone, and you don't have to beg for anyone's approval." Ling Wu gritted her teeth and nodded vigorously. She was very happy that Yang Dingtian didn't say anything about the vulgar feelings between a man and a woman, nor did he say that he would take care of her from now on. He didn't even say anything about marrying her. Perhaps he was really Wu Yuming's confidant. "Let's go," Yang Dingtian said. Ling Wu looked at the place that had been completely engulfed by the dark matter. She knelt down and kissed this piece of land, saying softly, "I'm leaving. I won't let you down, I won't let you down." After that, Ling Wu and Yang Dingtian left this city that was completely dying, this city that had completely buried Wu Yuming. After hundreds and thousands of twists, they rushed out of this secret realm. After that, they returned to the sea and floated up continuously. Bang! After that, the two of them suddenly rushed out of the water. They rode on the demon eagle King Aja and flew in the direction of Cloud Heaven City. In Cloud Heaven City, there was one more woman. No one recognized her as Ling Wu anymore. From the beginning to the end, she had completed a complete transformation. She also had a new name. She was called Wu Yuling. It was the combination of Wu Yoming's and Ling Wu's names. She had regarded herself as Wu Yoming's biological younger sister, and even the symbol of Wu Yoming's continued existence in this world. Of course, she didn't live in the valley but in Cloud Heaven Castle. As for Yang Dingtian, he started to study this cube that Wu Yuming had given him. There was definitely something very, very important inside. He had already studied it for a very, very long time. However, he basically didn't gain anything. This cube was just a very, very ordinary crystal. It didn't contain any energy. Yang Dingtian inserted his mystic qi. There wasn't any change. He also couldn't sense anything when he inserted his divine sense. However, this cube was densely packed with dots, incomparably fine dots. Not only were there on the surface, the inside was also filled with complicated dots and lines. Wu Yuming used energy and mystic flame to carve out many, many things in this cube. He didn't know if they were words or pictures. In short, there were many, many things. However, Yang Dingtian couldn't solve it even after studying it for a few days and nights. He had tried all kinds of solutions, such as codebooks, mazes, electronic signals, and even the Morse code on Earth. He had even considered it. However, all of them weren't. He had counted. There were a total of 99 layers on this 1-inch square cube. Each layer had at least 1,000 characters and patterns. Yang Dingtian didn't dare to believe that Wu Yuming had actually completed such a huge project in such a small cube. Furthermore, he didn't entrust it to Ling Wu when he passed it to her. He didn't even let Ling Wu know about it. He was guarding against Ling Wu. Did he not trust Ling Wu? That was definitely not the case. He was guarding against the evil spirit. He was afraid that the evil spirit would know about it. The evil spirit energy knew his every move like the back of its hand. Therefore, when he was carving this cube, the evil spirit energy would definitely know about it. If the evil spirit knew about it, it would mean that the Temple of Annihilation would know about it. Therefore, if Wu Yuming wanted to tell Yang Dingtian about it, she had to use a very, very secret method. Even if the evil spirit knew about it, it wouldn't be able to decipher it. It wouldn't know what Wu Yuming was doing. In this way, Yang Dingtian was even more certain that the solution to the secret of this cube was definitely not that simple. It would definitely be very complicated. However, it would definitely be very straightforward. Immediately, Yang Dingtian racked his brains. Time was tight. He couldn't spend too much time thinking about it. However, he could only ponder about this matter by himself. In the end, Yang Dingtian thought that since he couldn't figure out the secret, why not put himself in Wu Yoming's shoes and think about it from her perspective? How should he put himself in her shoes? It was very simple. He just had to follow Wu Yoming's cube and make one that was exactly the same as it. Yang Dingtian summoned a transparent crystal that was 1 cubic meter in size. After that, he used the energy of the mystic flame to carve the same characters and patterns on it. It was rather fast for Yang Dingtian to copy it. After 1 day and 1 night, Yang Dingtian had completely replicated this cube. After replicating it once, the only gain was that this cube had a total of 99 layers of complicated patterns. The patterns on each layer were extremely complicated. Furthermore, there wasn't any pattern. He immediately cut this big cube into 99 pieces. Every layer of pattern was a piece. After that, Yang Dingtian studied each piece. However, he still didn't gain any gains. A total of 6 days and 6 nights had passed. Yang Dingtian didn't sleep or rest. He was really exhausted to the extreme. This was too difficult to solve. Yang Dingtian almost couldn't help but want to give up. At this time, the sun had already risen. Yang Dingtian walked to the window and raised the cube. He whispered, "Brother Netherworld, what exactly is hidden in this cube of yours? Can you give me a hint? You clearly know that my brain isn't as smart as yours." Then, Yang Dingtian raised the cube and shone it under the sun. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian discovered it. This cube, under the sun's illumination, actually projected a different kind of light. This cube was clearly transparent. However, under the sun's illumination, it was actually fragmented. Countless different colors of light appeared in front of him. Suddenly it seemed very bright and bizarre. Yang Dingtian counted again. It seemed to change a lot. In fact, there were only 6 colors in total. Red, yellow, blue, white, orange, green. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian felt that these colors seemed to be a bit strange. The cube in front of him, under the various colors, also became somewhat familiar. Then, a name appeared in his mind like lightning and thunder. Rubik's Cube! Yes, it was the Rubik's Cube. This was one of the toys that Yang Dingtian had invented when he came to this world. Together with poker, chess, Go, and mahjong. However, the Rubik's Cube was not very popular in this world. There seemed to be not many people who liked to play with it. Yang Dingtian was the best. He had created a 9x9 Rubik's Cube. And the one who liked to play with it the most was Wu Maji. Her recovery speed was super fast. Now, it had already surpassed the record of the top experts on Earth. Now Yang Dingtian's children, Moji's precious daughter, also liked to play with it very much. The rest of the children were not very interested. Unexpectedly, Wu Yuming liked Yang Dingtian's invention very much. Moreover, she had already walked very far on this path. She had completely defeated Yang Dingtian, the inventor. That's right, the thing that Wu Yuming left for Yang Dingtian was the Rubik's Cube. But the crazy thing was that it was a 99x99 Rubik's Cube. It was very simple to solve the secret inside. He just had to restore the 99x99 Rubik's Cube. This was crazy. Yang Dingtian was completely shocked. This was not something that Wu Yuming had created the Rubik's Cube first, and then messed it up. Instead, he had finished everything, all the patterns, all the words, and all the ideas. Then, he had messed them up through an extremely complicated program, turning them into countless messy patterns. How many complicated calculations had to be done? It was completely unimaginable. Moreover, in order to prevent the evil spirit from finding out, the images and words that he had created at every moment were completely fragmented, and without any pattern. They needed to be pieced together with special laws. This way, even if the evil spirit detected it, it would be a complete mess. However, Yang Dingtian was going crazy. He could restore a 3x3 Rubik's Cube very quickly. Even if it was 9x9, he could still complete it. Now, this Rubik's Cube turned out to be a crazy 99x99. Even if he was given half a year, he would not be able to restore it. This was simply an impossible task. However, Yang Dingtian soon thought that Wu Yuming was not here to torture Yang Dingtian. She would definitely not make it impossible for him to restore it in half a year. She would definitely leave some clues. Thus, Yang Dingtian began to observe the data of the 99 layers. Soon enough, Yang Dingtian discovered that the outermost layer of this cube was filled with messy patterns. But inside, there were Arabic characters, and they looked completely messy and unorganized. This was the specific formula for imitating the restoration. That's right. A total of a few hundred steps could restore this Rubik's Cube. Thus, Yang Dingtian completely cut the large cube that he had copied and then rotated it with his celestial qi to restore the Rubik's Cube. He quickly rotated the Rubik's Cube. Soon, according to the formula left by Wu Yuming, Yang Dingtian restored the Rubik's Cube in just an hour. Suddenly, all the messy patterns and characters turned into 6 sides, complete words, and a map. What was recorded on it was indeed the most important thing to Yang Dingtian. At first glance, Yang Dingtian saw the approximate location of the World Extermination Army. At second glance, Yang Dingtian saw the specific location of the Xian vein essence that was required for the cultivation of the Sword Soul. Chapter 902. That's right, the first side of the Rubik's Cube was about the Legion of Doom. There were a few maps on it that were relatively incomplete. The rest were all words. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but read the words left by Wu Yuming. It wrote, first of all, the the division of labor in the Temple of Annihilation is very, very detailed. For example, Dongli, Netherworld, and I are all the adopted sons of the Demon King. But between us, we barely communicate with each other, and do our own jobs. In fact, we don't even know how we came to be in this world. So, regarding the Legion of Doom, I can only rely on guesses. First of all, the establishment of the Legion of Doom started about 100 years ago. And the main force of the Legion of Doom should be the barbarians in the world of ice and snow. You said that there will be a total of 20 to 30 million Legion of Doom because there are only so many Maori barbarians in the world of ice and snow. This is wrong because the Legion of Doom is not just a generation of Maori barbarians, but more than 100 years. So, this number could be 5 or 6 times. Reading this, Yang Dingtian suddenly felt his hair stand on end. 5 or 6 times, that means there are more than 100 million Maori barbarians. More than 100 million Legion of Doom? Then Yang Dingtian continued reading. Moreover, the Legion of Doom should not only consist of the Maori barbarians, but also some ancient races that haven't gone extinct. Of course, this is only my guess. A more detailed guess is that it might be an underwater race or an underground race. As for the direction of the Legion of Doom's main force formed by the Maori barbarians, I have thought for a long time. It should be energy transformation. When you fought with Ningwaming, you used the Blood-Eye demonic army. This army is very, very powerful. If you didn't use the special venom attack, I'm afraid that Cloud Sky City would have been completely wiped out in that battle. And the energy transformation of the Legion of Doom should be in this direction, but the level is much higher. It is very likely that this army is completely invulnerable. Even your cannons can't hurt them at all. Of course, because I'm not sure myself, I can't say too much, lest I lead you astray. But there's one thing I'm sure of. The Legion of Doom will definitely take the path of energy. Energy transformation. Yang Dingtian firmly remembered this phrase. Then he continued to read. And the most important thing was, where exactly was the Armageddon Legion built? I've thought about this for a long time. None of them could get an answer, but one thing was for sure. In order to transform this astronomical number of Maori barbarians into energy, it would require a very, very large amount of energy. Therefore, that place would definitely die very quickly. Yes, that continent, or that space, would definitely die very, very quickly. That's why I've been paying attention to this question when I've been traveling around the world. Which world dies the fastest? I chose many places, including the Dongli grasslands, the Ghost Hell region, and the extreme south. In the end, my gaze landed on a place, the River of Ecstasy. Yang Dingtian was shocked. The River of Ecstasy, that's right, the River of Ecstasy. The water in this river is completely the color of blood. Any life that enters it will immediately be corroded until nothing is left. It has even completely polluted the continent for thousands of miles. All the way to the Poison Strait, the seawater is highly toxic. Wu Yoming's record continued. The source of the River of Ecstasy has 2 places. One is the Demon Domain, the other is the Yin-Yang Mirror. These 2 worlds were already completely dead worlds, and they were still spreading. Therefore, my guess for the Legion of Doom is to follow the River of Ecstasy, go against the current, and find the true source. Perhaps there will be some gains. That place might be hiding hundreds of millions of Legion of Doom, hiding the core of the Empire of Darkness that the Temple of Annihilation spent 100 years building. On the first page, the records of the Armageddon Legion had come to an end. Wu Yuming was very amazing. His description was very precise, and there were almost no vague concepts. He pointed out the 2 most important points of the Legion of Doom. One was the energy transformation, and the other was to go against the current of the River of Ecstasy to find the core of the Legion of Doom, the Temple of Annihilation's Empire of Darkness. Yang Dingtian put down the deep shock in his heart, and looked at the second record. The second record was about the Xian Vein Essence, and Sea Spirit Crystal that Yang Dingtian needed to cultivate his sword soul. It wrote, first of all, what are Xian Vein Essence and Sea Spirit Crystal? Xian Vein Essence is not an object, but a kind of energy life form. Actually, it's more accurate to call it earth vein. It grows in places where the energy of the earth, the two moons, and the two suns are the densest. Of course, this does not mean that it will be on the ground. In fact, it is often in the depths of the earth. The reason is, when the earth, the two moons, and the two suns intersect, the entire huge continent or the ocean is the energy receiver. Then, when the energy is to be transported to the earth's core, there are some obstacles in the middle because of some reasons, so this kind of earth vein is born, allowing the continent, or the ocean to have a better energy connection with the earth's core. So, this is Xian vein essence. It is because of this that Xian vein essence can be placed into the soul sword and become the sword Xian vein. And the sea spirit crystal is the soul sword's Qi. I used to think that it was some kind of energy crystal, or some kind of demon beast's demon core. Later on, I studied it for a long time and found that it is not, it is actually the essence of the Qi. Seeing this, young Dingtian could not help but be puzzled, so he continued to read. Wu Yuming continued to record. We all know that the Qi is empty, it is a separate energy world, it does not exist in the material world. However, when one's cultivation reaches a certain level, it will undergo a qualitative change, but it will still be an energy body. And when a person dies, the Qi will dissipate very quickly, so it will not undergo a qualitative change. So I boldly guessed that during the ancient times when the world was annihilated, in an instant the world was turned upside down, and the energy changed drastically. It caused some top experts to die in an instant. But before the Qi could dissipate, it was sealed and squeezed by some incomparably powerful energy. So, this energy body condensed, from the energy body, but without the main body, it became a separate Qi. So, according to my bold guess, the so-called sea spirit crystals should be the fossil of the Qi. After reading up to this point, Yang Dingtian was completely amazed. Many people knew about Xian vein essence and sea spirit crystal. But very few people cared about what they were. How did they come about? They only knew that the last two things needed to forge a soul sword were them. One was the Xian vein of the soul sword, the other was the Qi of the soul sword. Wu Yuming was the only one who could explain them so thoroughly. Regarding the Xian vein essence, he was very, very sure. He was completely sure. And regarding the sea spirit crystal, he said that he was making a bold guess, but in fact, Yang Dingtian felt that it was basically like this, and the accuracy was at least more than 90%. Then, Wu Yuming wrote, "But it's a pity, because I can't cultivate a sword spirit, so I didn't look for the Xian vein essence and sea spirit crystal in the previous years, so I can't give you the specific location. But I can mark the approximate location of a few Xian vein essence according to my own theory, and some experts with sword spirit have also brought these places, which proves my theory even more. The first place was Xian vein essence, yin-yang mirror. The entire yin-yang mirror had become a very special environment, like a huge mirror, swallowing the energy of the two moons and two suns, which was incomparably huge. So, it created a very special energy environment. Of course, there used to be a Xian vein essence here, but it had already been taken by Dongfang Bingling. But the 10,000 miles yin-yang mirror shouldn't only have one Xian vein essence, or even 3 or 4, but more. The second place was Xian vein essence, Ghost Hell region. Ghost Hell region, this is the ultimate yin plane, so it swallows the energy of the two moons and repels the energy of the two suns, creating a very strange energy environment, so the possibility of Xian vein essence being produced is very high. The third place was Xian vein essence, world of ice and snow. World of ice and snow, tens of thousands of miles of ice and snow, is also a very special and strange energy environment. And in history, this place wasn't a world of ice and snow, because it was forcefully torn apart by the energy of the Great Calamity. So, the possibility of Xian vein essence being produced here is also not small. The fourth place, extreme south, where the desert and ice intersect. This place is very special, because the desert and ice on this continent are either extremely hot or extremely cold. So, this continent's energy environment is very special. But, according to historical records, I didn't find a situation where the earth was torn apart, and when the great calamity happened, it didn't seem to affect this place. So, I only have some suspicions about this area, but the probability of Xian vein essence is not very high. Of course, there are other places where, according to my theory, Xian vein essence may exist. But the probability is already not high, and even if it exists, there aren't many, so it's very difficult to find. The content about Xian vein essence ended. Next, the content about sea spirit crystals was relatively short. It wrote, sea spirit crystals, according to my bold theory, were formed by the great calamity of the ancient times, which caused the essence of the chi sea of the strong to become energy fossils. Then, its existence had a very, very strong element of chance. We can only go to the place where the Earth's reaction was the most intense during the great calamity of the ancient times. And those places are basically not in the human countries, so the amount of sea spirit crystals found in the human countries is very little, and much more precious than Xian vein essence. I think that in the dark realm or other planes, there should be more surprises. Of course, there is actually another place, and that is the underwater world, where the possibility of sea spirit crystals existing is even higher. At that time, the underwater races generally had martial cultivation that surpassed humans. And at that time, during the Great Calamity, the underwater world was the place with the most intense reaction, so in the underwater world, especially the ruins of the ancient underwater civilization, the probability of finding sea spirit crystals is much higher. The content about Xian vein essence and sea spirit crystals on the second page ended. Yang Dingtian turned to the third page, and there were only a few words on it: kill vulture. Seeing these words, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but tremble. It wrote, first of all, I don't hate vulture. Although her nature is very bad, her heart is also inclined to evil. However, because no one guided her to good, it made her become worse and worse, and I am one of the main culprits. Moreover, the current vulture is basically unable to be saved. Her heart has completely fallen into darkness. Of course, even so, I have never thought of killing her. Because, in fact, I don't have much to do with it. Darkness is still light, in many, many times. However, recently I learned that Dongli and Mu Dan were bestowing second-grade evil spirits to many people, but only vulture was not bestowed. It was not strange that Willingzi was not given, because he already had the netherworld ghost fire of immortality. If he was given a second-grade evil spirit, he would be immortal and immortal. Moreover, because of the netherworld ghost fire, he had devoured countless undead energy, and his cultivation had reached an incomparably terrifying level. If he were to give the evil spirit energy, Willingzi's strength would be unstoppable. Moreover, the current Willingzi was very greedy for life and afraid of death, so he was very easy to control. However, once he had the evil spirit, he would be completely immortal, and his temperament would definitely change greatly, becoming extremely arrogant and extremely murderous. And at that time, the first person he would kill might be you. And you, Yang Dingtian, absolutely cannot die now, so it was not surprising that the second-grade evil spirit was not given to Willingzi. However, it was very strange that the second-grade evil spirit was not given to Vulture. Her talent as a celestial spirit master was 1 in a billion, and it was very amazing. Moreover, the evil in her heart and the hostile relationship between you and her can no longer be reversed. Therefore, she was the best candidate to bestow a second-grade evil spirit. However, why was the second-grade evil spirit not given to her? The only possibility was that it was because of her celestial spirit master talent. If it was given to a second-grade evil spirit, it would destroy her celestial spirit master talent. Therefore, I boldly associated her with the World Extermination Army. Once the World Extermination Army was completely energized, and a celestial spirit master could summon all energy bodies, then it meant that the energized World Extermination Army was completely immortal and immortal. Once Vulture was strong to a certain extent, then the consequences would be unimaginable. Reading up to this point, Yang Dingtian suddenly shuddered. If it was really as Wu Yuming said, then the consequences would really be very, very shocking. Such a terrifying consequence? Yang Dingtian did not dare to imagine it at all. In that case, killing Spirit Vulture might be the only choice. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian had a strong impulse to immediately kill Vulture. Next was the fourth side of the Rubik's Cube, which wrote, about the demon King Wentian. Seeing these words, Yang Dingtian's heart could not help but tremble. The Rubik's Cube left by Wu Yuming was indeed incomparably important. Every piece of information was fatal. They were all top secrets in this world. Yang Dingtian could not help but continue reading. It wrote, the demon King Wentian, who is also my creator and adoptive father. I have never seen him, but I feel his presence all the time. In the last World Extermination War, he understood the truth of the God of Chaos. After discovering the evil spirit energy, he immediately feigned death and was defeated. And after several hundred years of planning. First, he knew the soul doppelganger technique. He divided his soul into several parts. As for how many parts there are, I do not know. First, there is one in the Underworld Empire, one in the Little Western Paradise, and he will definitely explore the Dark Realm to find the ruins of the Naga Empire. This soul is the most important, so it is very likely to be the main body of the soul. There is a rumor that if one obtains the Void Splitter Fire, one can obtain the treasures of the Naga Empire. Therefore, this doppelganger should have the Void Splitter Fire. Reading until here, Yang Dingtian was even more amazed. Wu Yuming was really amazing. Everything was based on guesses, but they were so accurate. The one who went to explore the Dark Realm to find the ruins of the Naga Empire was Wentian's main body, and he had the Void Splitter Fire. Following which, Yang Dingtian continued reading. The content wrote, secondly, the mission of the Demon King's dead concubine was to revive the Demon King Wentian. Regarding this point, I have always been doubtful. First, Wentian's body must have been destroyed in the last World Extermination War. If he had the original evil spirit at that time, then his heart, Xian meridians, and Qi-Si should be complete. Therefore, he could find another body to take over. And from the looks of it, the original evil spirit was divided into two parts. He gave one half to the Devil Queen, which is the Void Piaoling. Then, at least the other half is still in his body. Therefore, I strongly suspect that his main body is not dead at all. Instead, he has taken over another person's body and has always been in the human countries. But why doesn't he appear? I have no idea. When he saw this, Yang Dingtian's body had already started to tremble and tremble. This news was really too shocking. The Demon King Wentian's main body is not dead, but he has taken over another person's body? And he is still in the human countries? What kind of shocking news is this? If this is the case, why doesn't he appear? Why does he let Li Ming run around? If he has taken over another person's body, then who is this person? Yang Dingtian suddenly felt that the entire world around him seemed to have turned dark. The Demon King Wentian's eyes seemed to be looking at him from somewhere, sneering and laughing. On the fourth side, the content about the Demon King Wentian was all over. He told Yang Dingtian the most important content. When the Demon King was destroyed, his body was protected by the evil spirit, so he could take over another person's body at any time. Therefore, he could still be alive in the human countries, and he could be anyone. Yang Dingtian could not continue to read the content of the fifth side. He desperately suppressed the shock in his heart, and continued to turn to the fifth side of the Rubik's Cube. With just a glance, Yang Dingtian was shocked again. The content of the fifth side was about Shimin Ningning and Naga. It wrote, in this world, of all the people I have met, the most mysterious one is not the Demon King Wentian, nor is it Li Ming, or the Void Piaoling, but Shimin Ningning. I strongly suspect that she is a descendant of Naga. You also know the reason. When she knew that you were injured, she transformed in anger and slaughtered thousands of people at once. Moreover, you killed the Millennium Mao and Ning Wuming's Blood-Eye Demon Army. I predict that it is very likely that it is the deep-sea Xian poison. Moreover, when Shimin Ningning slaughtered, her whole body was dark green. According to the records, some strange scales once appeared on her neck. Of course, before she finished transforming, she immediately disappeared without a trace. Of course, you may know more about Shimin Ningning than I do. And a large part of the reason why I suspect that she is Naga comes from you. I have read the information about you and her. Your love for her, or more accurately, her feelings for you, were very, very sudden. At that time, you were not outstanding, and you were not a man who could make people fall in love at first sight. So why did Shimin Ningning fall in love with you at first sight? At first, I had no idea at all. Later, I learned that you can make the Naga tribe go into heat, and you are the only human in this world who can make the Naga tribe and the Fox tribe of Little Western Paradise go into heat. Then I speculated that Shimin Ningning fell in love with you at first sight because she is not a human. So, I boldly guessed that she is a descendant of Naga. The Naga of this world has not been destroyed. There is still at least 1 or 2 Naga left. Then, I made an even bolder guess. The Demon King Wentian's strength, and the evil energy that the Demon King Wentian found are all related to Naga. When he saw this, Yang Dingtian was truly dumbfounded. Regarding Shimin Ningning's matter, Yang Dingtian had gone through a lot of facts and speculated that she was a descendant of Naga. Moreover, her father or mother was the survivor who escaped from the Naga Empire. However, Yang Dingtian had never connected the Demon King Wentian with Naga. Now that Wu Yuming pointed it out, Yang Dingtian was really awakened. The possibility of this happening was very real. The god of chaos would not let go of the Naga that escaped. The Demon King Wentian wanted to perish together with the god of chaos. The two of them had a common interest. Wu Yuming continued to write, "If my guess is true, Shimin Ningning is really a descendant of Naga, then there is really a Naga in this world, and he is the backer of the Demon King Wentian. Then where is he? To solve the evil spirit, perhaps the key is not Wentian, but the surviving Naga." Unfortunately, I thought about this point too late, and did not have time to explore this world again, so I really do not know where this surviving Naga is. However, Shimin Ningning loves you very much, so this is an opportunity. Perhaps, this is also one of the biggest opportunities for you to save the world. The 5th page, the content about Shimin Ningning and the surviving Naga, ended. Yang Dingtian's heart was deeply immersed in the memories of Shimin Ningning. Her face was already a little blurred, but her incomparably gentle eyes were incomparably clear. The information on this Rubik's Cube was really too fatal. The 1st page, the secret about the World Extermination Army, was already shocking enough. Who knew that each page would be more shocking and more important than the last? Soon, he would turn to the last page. Yang Dingtian really did not dare to imagine what the last page of the Rubik's Cube would be, but without a doubt, it would be the most important content in this world. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian turned to the last page. Then, he was completely stunned by the content. The number 1 mysterious flame in the world, the chaotic spirit flame. The god of chaos. Yang Dingtian continued to feel suffocated. The last page of the Rubik's Cube was indeed the most shocking content. Chapter 903. Chaos Spirit Flame, the number 1 mystic flame in the world. Yang Dingtian had seen how powerful a heaven and earth mystic flame was. Was the million spirit demonic flame heaven-defying enough? It was heaven-defying, but not as powerful as the demon spirit demonic flame. The demon spirit demonic flame could release energy shields, immobilize the body, and create mystic flame lightning. When it came to the void-splitting flame, it had already surpassed the mystic flame. It could open the world of darkness, travel through the border of the abyss, pass through the 3rd dark realm, and so on. Furthermore, when it was added to any mystic flame, its power would multiply. In short, the void-splitting flame was already a very special form of energy. Then, how terrifying was the number 1 mystic flame, the chaos spirit flame? How heaven-defying was it? Yang Dingtian could not imagine it at all. The content on the 6th page of the Rubik's Cube was rather sparse. Firstly, it was about the number 1 mystic flame, the chaos spirit flame. It wrote, regarding the chaos spirit flame, "It was completely out of my imagination, and even an extremely exaggerated imagination? What was it like? Where was it? I had many, many imaginations. My first thought was that it might be related to the evil spirit energy, because its energy level was higher than the void-splitting flame. Then, what kind of energy was higher than the void-splitting flame? Maybe the evil spirit energy was one of them? My second thought was that it might be related to the darkness mystic flame. That's right, when I discovered the darkness mystic flame, I was extremely excited and felt that I had found the ultimate energy. But later on, I gave up on these fantasies. Because whether it was the evil spirit energy, or the darkness mystic flame, they did not seem to be at the level of the chaos spirit flame. So, I used all my courage to think about it. Is the chaos spirit flame the fire seed of the entire chaos world? How is it related to the fallen black dragon? How is it related to the fallen silver dragon? The more I thought about it, the more I thought about it, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought about it. I could not find an answer to this question. But I feel that if you want to unravel the secret of the chaos spirit flame, you have to go to the Forbidden Continent's illusory realm. Because that place is the evolution history of the entire chaos world. There you can clearly see how the world came into being from nothing, and how energy came into being from nothing. Therefore, I feel that in the Taboo Continent's illusory realm, in the past tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of millions of years, we can find the secret of the chaos spirit flame, the secret of the chaos world's martial arts civilization. Then, the description of the first profound flame, the chaos spirit flame, ended. Of course, regarding the number one mysterious flame, Wu Yuming did not give any definite answer. This was because no one in this world had ever obtained the chaos spirit flame, and there was no information about it. In fact, the records of the various civilizations were very vague about the chaos spirit flame. It was completely based on one's imagination. Many people even felt that the existence of the primal chaos spirit flame was a problem. Wu Yoming's research on the chaos spirit flame could be considered to be very, very far ahead. In fact, when Yang Dingtian was in the library of the Western Paradise Silver Palace, he saw many of the demon fox race's scholars describing the chaos spirit flame. Their way of thinking was quite similar to Wu Yuming. After that, there were even fewer descriptions of the god of chaos. In fact, the concept of the god of chaos was first proposed by the demon king Wentian. Even in the library of Little Western Paradise, there were almost no books on the so-called god of chaos. No matter how smart Wu Yuming was, it was difficult for her to think too much. Therefore, under the god of chaos, there was a huge blank space. After that, there was only one paragraph written. Looking for traces of the god of chaos, is it in the celestial Red Sea? Or is it at the end of the dark realm? After writing, Wu Yuming used more than a dozen question marks in succession to express her absolute doubts. She wanted to show that her words were completely imaginary. Half of this idea was very similar to Yang Dingtian's. That was the end of the dark realm. Yang Dingtian had been to the dark realm, to the continent that was completely dead, to the endless dark realm where the gravity was getting stronger and stronger. There was an incomparably tall mountain there. It might be a few hundred miles, a few thousand miles, or even tens of thousands of miles tall. Yang Dingtian felt that if he wanted to find the god of chaos, he should be at the top of that mountain. This was Yang Dingtian's most instinctive idea. However, it was impossible to go to that mountain now. Even if he broke through the saint level, it was impossible to go there. Because before he reached there, it would have completely collapsed. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, or tens of millions of times of gravity would directly turn him into ashes. And Wu Yuming actually proposed another idea. Could the traces of the god of chaos be found in the celestial Red Sea? Yang Dingtian had been to the celestial Red Sea before. There was a temple there. In the temple lived a Saint Tan Tai, the so-called border guardian. She was very, very powerful. According to Yang Dingtian's imagination, she must have broken through the saint level. She couldn't even be described as a saint level. But Saint Tan Tai said that there was more than one border guardian in this world. There were several. However, Yang Dingtian had been to many border guardians in the world. But he didn't see a second border guardian. So these border guardians didn't want to see Yang Dingtian, or Tantai was lying. She wasn't a border guardian at all. There were no border guardians in this world. If she wasn't the so-called border guardian, then who was she? The contents of the first 5 sides of the Rubik's Cube had completely enlightened Yang Dingtian. After reading the contents of the 6th side, Yang Dingtian was completely confused, or even more confused. However, this was how it should be. Whether it was the chaos spirit flame or the god of chaos, they were huge mysteries to everyone in the world. If Yang Dingtian wanted to know, there was probably only one way, and that was to ask Xu Wupiaoyan in the 6th level of the pig-slaying swordsmanship. No one could surpass him in terms of the number of people who had explored this world the most. It took him a few hundred years to explore almost every place he could reach in this world. Then, Yang Dingtian quickly put the contents of the 6th side aside. Whether it was the chaos spirit flame or the god of chaos, they were too far away from him now. The problem he wanted to solve was the upcoming Doomsday battle and the Doomsday army. In fact, Yang Dingtian had 2 choices in front of him at this time. The first choice was to find the Xian vein essence and the sea spirit crystal, and cultivate the sword soul in the shortest time. Because he had a soul sword close to the Emperor grade, and it already had the chaotic sword soul lot show. It could be said that as long as he had the Xian vein essence and the sea spirit crystal, the sword soul would directly appear. Not only that, there was also the soul of the Naga king in his sword. And it was something inside the energy. At that time, the energy of the Naga royalty first entered his brain, and then into his sword. So, as long as he could find the Xian vein essence and the sea spirit crystal, his fighting strength would definitely increase sharply. At present, Yang Dingtian's cultivation was already very difficult to break through, so cultivating the sword soul had become the most direct way to increase his fighting strength. The second choice was to find the Empire of Darkness that created the Legion of Doom. Very quickly, Yang Dingtian made his decision. The second choice was to explore the top secret space that created the Legion of Doom, the Empire of Darkness. First of all, know yourself and know your enemy, then you can win 100 battles. Regarding the Legion of Doom, Yang Dingtian's thoughts were still stuck at the previous World Extermination War, which was very dangerous. If not for Wu Yoming's reminder, Yang Dingtian might still be proud of his Council of Light Army's invincibility. That way, when the World Extermination War arrived, it might directly lead to a destructive ending. Wu Yoming's words were very right. Evil ways did not put the World Extermination War in their eyes, and also did not put the Council of Light Army in their eyes. If the World Extermination War was allowed to happen, then the only possible ending was that the Council of Light Army was completely annihilated, the human countries would lose hundreds of millions of lives, and the entire world would enter doomsday. Therefore, Yang Dingtian had to go to the Empire of Darkness that created the Legion of Doom. He had to understand the Legion of Doom, find a way to defeat the enemy, and even destroy the Empire of Darkness to prevent the outbreak of the World Extermination War. Time was very, very tight, and there were only 2 months left. According to Wu Yuming, Li Ming would start the World Extermination War regardless of whether he tricked Yang Dingtian to the Abyssal Sea or not. He had sent out so many invitations. In addition to attending a possible wedding, he could also witness the start of the World Extermination War and the Legion of Doom's swearing ceremony. Moreover, according to Wu Yuming, the place with the most mystic vein essence was the Yin-Yang Mirror. The Empire of Darkness space that created the Legion of Doom could also be in the Yin-Yang Mirror or the Demon Territory. Then, in the best-case scenario, Yang Dingtian could not only find the Empire of Darkness where the Legion of Doom was, but he could also find the mystic vein essence. Therefore, he had to go to the Demon Territory and the Yin-Yang Mirror as soon as possible to find the Empire of Darkness. However, before that, Yang Dingtian had to do one more thing, and that was to deal with Vulture. Wu Yuming had specifically mentioned on the 3rd page of the Rubik's Cube that he had to kill Vulture. Of course, killing Vulture was very simple and could be done easily. However, the problem was her great-grandfather, Wu Lingzi. Wu Yuming had also said that Walingzi's cultivation might be very, very terrifying. He must not be fooled by his fear of death. Once Vulture was killed, it was basically touching Walingzi's bottom line. He would definitely go crazy. Moreover, Li Ming must have already gone to the Vulture Palace. At this time, Walingzi was showing his strong desire. He was afraid that he would take the initiative to find trouble with Yang Dingtian. If Vulture was killed at this time, Yang Dingtian could not guarantee that Walingzi would not directly rush to the Council of Light and start a massacre. If this was the case, the consequences would be unimaginable. So, was there any way to kill Vulture without causing Walingzi's revenge? It was difficult, very difficult. First of all, Vulture could not die for no reason. Otherwise, Walingzi would definitely blame Yang Dingtian. Then, the person who killed Vulture would either have a stronger background than Walingzi or a stronger cultivation than Walingzi. There were only a handful of such people in this world. Queen Hai Xian could barely be considered as one. Wu Yu in the Netherworld Sea could barely be considered as one. Then, it could only be someone from Little Western Paradise. Moreover, it could not be Yao Li or Bo Lu. They had already followed Yang Dingtian. Immediately after, a person quickly appeared in Yang Dingtian's mind. That's right, Ling Wu. Yang Dingtian had already accepted her. However, no one knew about this. In everyone's eyes, she was still Yang Dingtian's mortal enemy, and Wu Yoming's younger sister. Therefore, Ling Wu's killing of Vulture would not involve the Council of Light. Moreover, Ling Wu completely had a reason to kill Vulture. This was because the relationship between the two of them was extremely bad. Vulture bullied Ling Wu in every possible way and humiliated her verbally. Secondly, Ling Wu was Wu Yoming's younger sister and Vulture was Wu Yoming's wife. She had betrayed Wu Yuming and remarried to Dongli. This was a great humiliation. Ling Wu completely had a reason to kill an unfaithful wife for her elder brother. Now, the crucial point was how to make Ling Wu kill Vulture? Yang Dingtian really found it hard to say. Logically speaking, he was the one who was taking care of Ling Wu. At this moment, Yang Dingtian no longer owed Ling Wu any kindness. On the contrary, Yang Dingtian owed Wu Yuming a lot. He did not have the qualifications to make Ling Wu do certain things. Also, after Ling Wu killed Vulture, would she face Walingzi's crazy revenge? Ling Wu could withstand Walingzi's revenge. Yang Dingtian was still thick-skinned enough to make Ling Wu kill Vulture. However, Yang Dingtian was still unable to make Ling Wu face Walingzi's anger and revenge. Wu Yuming had entrusted Ling Wu to him. Yet he had turned around and put Ling Wu in danger. This was simply too unrighteous. Ling Wu, who had changed her name to Wu Yiling, always wore a blue mask from day to night. She did not see anyone and lived in her own castle. She was either meditating or playing chess. As for Yang Dingtian, he still had not found a way to kill Vulture. He did not speak to Ling Wu either. He had even decided to temporarily put aside the matter of Vulture and go to the Devil Domain and the Yin-Yang Mirror tomorrow to search for the profound vein essence and the Legion of Doom's Empire of Darkness. However, it was at this moment that the latest information came from the southern barbarian continent. The little princess of the Vulture Palace, Vulture, had created a sensational massacre in a new town of the Foxman race. Of course, this was not some meticulously planned plot. It was just a sudden incident. Previously, everyone from the Vulture Palace had holed up within the boundaries of the Vulture Palace. They did not dare to come out and find trouble with the Council of Light. However, after Li Ming's arrival, Walingzi and Vulture had instantly become emboldened. Especially Vulture, she had frequently left the Vulture Palace and entered the territory of the Council of Light. After the army of the Council of Light had received orders from their superiors, they had also tried their best not to come into conflict with the Vulture Palace. This continued until one day, Vulture had led her servants and swaggered through the streets of a new town of the half-human race. After that, she had trampled on a vegetable garden that had just been planted and turned it into a mess. A young girl from the Foxman race could not help but reprimand her. After that, Vulture, who was in a violent rage and dissatisfaction, had directly cracked her entire face with a whip. The burly people of the Foxman race had begun to surround Vulture, wanting to capture her and bring her to the castle of the Council of Light. A conflict had broken out. Both parties had started to fight. In the end, they had used their swords and sabers. Blood had started to flow, and people had started to die. In the end, all the half-human race in this town had been completely killed. There were close to 1,000 of them. Yang Ditian had finally managed to cross space and expose the greater space technique to save the 1,000 of Foxman race. However, they had all been killed by Vulture. Chapter 904. In an instant, the anger in Yang Dingtian's heart couldn't be described with words. The half-humans who were killed did not die under the tyranny of the Snake People Empire, did not starve to death in the Sacred Valley, did not die in the great escape of hundreds of thousands of miles. In the end, after starting a new life, they died under the brutality of the Vulture. Was there something wrong with the Vulture woman's brain? Although Li Ming was already here, the evil ways had a backer. However, was there a need for her to be so eager to show her cruelty and stupidity? Originally, Yang Dingtian had decided to let the Vulture go temporarily in order to avoid Walingzi's desperate actions. He did not expect that this stupid woman would directly cause such a tragedy. She had actually killed thousands of innocent people of the Council of Light. If Yang Dingtian did not give the people an explanation for this matter, then the whole new territory of the southern barbarian continent would be finished. It would mean that the Vulture Palace was still the supreme master of the southern barbarian continent, and would still have the power to kill the people there. The authority of the Council of Light would be completely lost. At this moment, Yang Dingtian really wanted to skin the Vulture alive. He did not say anything and directly rode the demon Vulture King to the southern barbarian continent. Yang Dingtian rode the demon Vulture King and flew at the fastest speed. In just half a day, he entered the airspace of the southern barbarian continent. At this moment, the square in front of the central castle of the southern barbarian Ning city was densely packed with countless people and warriors. They all waved the weapons in their hands and looked indignant as they angrily asked to fight. Moreover, there was an endless stream of people coming towards the central square. Currently, as the temporary first commander of the southern barbarian continent defense zone, Zhuo Qingqi and the second commander, Day by Day Bella, could not even suppress the extremely angry crowd. All warriors and people, you must believe in the Council of Light and sect leader Yang Dingtian. We will not let the innocent people's blood flow in vain. We will definitely make the Vulture Palace give us an explanation. Everyone, go back at ease. Those who need to train, those who need to do production, as long as the Supreme Commander and sect leader Yang Dingtian have any orders, I will inform you immediately. Zhuo Qingqi said loudly. Sect Master Zhuo, we're definitely not here to force the Radiant Congress, nor are we here to protest. We're just here to express our anger and will. Even if we have to fight the spiritual Vulture Palace to the end, we'll make them pay with their blood. Below, a Foxman race warrior shouted. The blood of our Foxman race cannot be spilled in vain. That's right, the blood of the Foxman race cannot be spilled in vain. We must seek justice and fight to the end. Then, all of the people of the half-human race roar. The entire square was in an uproar. No one was willing to leave. They waited here for the Council of Light's highest decision. Moreover, more and more people were gathering in the square. If this matter was left unsettled, it would be an indescribable blow to the morale of the Council of Light. At this moment, someone pointed to the sky and said, "Look, it's sect leader Yang Dingtian." Instantly, the entire crowd was in an uproar. Everyone stood up and said excitedly, "Sect leader Yang, sect leader Yang." As for Zhuo Qingqi and Day by Day Bella, they heaved a long sigh of relief. However, they were immediately on tenterhooks again. At this moment, Yang Dingtian was not in a position to express his opinion. Because once he did, there was no way to change or reverse it. Yang Dingtian landed in front of the castle and looked at the crowd in front of him. There were at least tens of thousands of people. Instantly, his face turned cold. What is the meaning of this? Don't tell me the Supreme Commander has nothing to do? Don't you have any training or production missions? As soon as he said this, the excited crowd was stunned. Then, the leader of the warriors said, Sect Leader Yang, we are here to express our will to fight. We want to seek justice for our innocent victims. Yang Dingtian said, It's good to seek justice for the innocent. However, can production missions be stopped? Can military training be stopped? Then, he looked at the warriors present. They were all elites of the Holy Valley Resistance Army. Haven't you all been integrated into the Second Army of the Council of Light's Southern Barbarian Continent Defense Zone? Did your commander agree to you coming here for a gathering? Are you disobeying orders? Yang Dingtian said coldly. After you go back, you will be punished according to military law. Those who should be locked up will be punished with whipping. Instantly, the entire square was silent. Then, a Foxman warrior said, Sect Leader Yang, we what? Yang Dingtian said, Are you worried that the Council of Light will lose their authority and humiliate themselves? Will they turn this into a small matter? Don't worry too much. Go back and wait for the results. Then Zhuo Qinqi and Day by Day Bella came up and said in a low voice, Sect Leader Dongfang, City Lord Qin and the other military members are coming from all over. They will be here in about 4 hours. Sect Leader, please go in and wait. No need to wait for them. Yang Dingtian said, This matter is simple and straightforward. There is no need for a meeting. Just give the Vulture Palace an ultimatum. If they don't hand over the people, we will start a war. Then Yang Dingtian rose into the air and flew toward the Vulture Palace. Zhuo Qinqi said in a low voice, Sect Leader, but the situation is different. Li Ming has returned and Wolingzi's aura is overwhelming. This matter is difficult to resolve. We really need to think about it at length. There is a saying, a lack of forbearance in small matters will spoil great plans. Yang Dingtian turned and said to Zhuo Qinqi, Uncle Master Zhuo, believe me. Although I am very angry, I am not impulsive. Then Yang Dingtian rode on the demon eagle and flew toward the Vulture Palace. The people sitting in the square were shocked when they saw Yang Dingtian fly directly to the Vulture Palace without a word. Then they began to leave. Those who should go back to work, go back to work. Those who should go back to the barracks to receive punishment, go and receive punishment. Yang Dingtian arrived at the Vulture Palace and was quickly stopped by 4 crane riders. Halt! Yang Dingtian said. Go in and report that Yang Dingtian of the Council of Light has come to visit. One of the crane riders said. Ancestor has ordered that no one from the Council of Light is allowed to enter the Vulture Palace. In his anger, Yang Dingtian did not bicker with the 4 of them. He directly used the Demon Spirit Demon Fire immobilization technique to immobilize the 4 of them and flew in. At this time, Wolingzi built another straw hut on the mountain peak that Yang Dingtian cut off. Yang Dingtian landed directly outside the straw hut and said loudly, Yang Dingtian of the Council of Light pays a visit to Wolingzi of the Vulture Palace. Yang Dingtian, you are not welcome here. Wolingzi said slowly, suppressing his anger. Yang Dingtian stepped into the straw hut and immediately saw the culprit, Vulture, beside Wolingzi. He went forward and sat down cross-legged. Vulture, why are you doing this? Yang Dingtian asked. No reason. Vulture turned around and said, The entire southern barbarian continent is the territory of the Vulture Palace. Anyone who offends me deserves to die. Besides, it's just a few half-human livestock. Yang Dingtian's face twitched and said, You are wrong. The Vulture Palace's territory is only the 3 Vulture Islands. The rest of the southern barbarian continent belongs to the Council of Light. It has never been the territory of the Vulture Palace. Vulture said, Isn't it because you used despicable means to steal the territory that belongs to the Vulture Palace? Steal the southern barbarian continent? Yang Dingtian said, Why didn't you do that before Li Ming returned? Instead, you came to seek my protection? Selling your body for glory? Vulture's beautiful face twitched and said, That was then, and this is now. Yang Dingtian, your time of calling the wind and calling the rain is over. The world is unpredictable. Don't blame others for being too realistic. What he said was very good, but it was also very stupid. Yang Dingtian didn't bother about Ling Jiao anymore. Instead, he looked at Wu Lingzi and spoke unhurriedly. Wu Lingzi, hand over those 325 people who committed murder and hand them over to me for execution. Vulture ordered to kill but didn't kill with his own hands. According to the Council of Light's laws, he will be whipped 100 times and imprisoned for life. Wu Lingzi looked at Yang Dingtian and laughed. Yang Dingtian, you always like to tell jokes that aren't funny. You don't have much time left. Don't try to bluff with me, Yang Dingtian said. You must think that Li Ming has returned and that you have the Legion of Doom as your backing. That's why you are so fearless, right? Wu Lingzi's complexion instantly turned unsightly. He had always hated it when people said that he was relying on others. Immediately he spoke in a cold voice. Yang Dingtian, if you have the ability, use your martial strength to take the spirit vulture away from me. Otherwise, disappear from my sight. Talking glibly is the behavior of an incompetent person. I'll repeat myself. Yang Dingtian said word by word. Hand over the 325 people who committed murder and vulture. Otherwise, you will bear the consequences. What consequences? I want to hear about it, Wu Lingzi said. I will raze the Vulture Palace to the ground and kill everyone in the Vulture Palace, Yang Dingtian said. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Wu Lingzi laughed crazily. Prince Li Ming is in the human countries. The invincible Legion of Doom is waiting to attack. You tell me that you want to raze the Vulture Palace to the ground? You actually said that you want to raze the Vulture Palace to the ground. Ridiculous, the most ridiculous thing in the world. I've already warned you. Don't blame me for not warning you, Yang Dingtian said, then got up and left. Vulture's cold laughter came from behind. Yang Dingtian, if you don't come, I will be very disappointed. Yang Dingtian returned to the headquarters of the Southern Barbarian Continent Defense District, Southern Barbarian Ming City, which was the old site of the Queen's new city. At this time, the higher-ups of the Council of Light had all gathered in the Defense District Commander's castle, waiting for the highest-level meeting to deal with this sudden incident. After Yang Dingtian entered the meeting room, he directly ordered, "Prepare all the giant long-range cannons, giant missile troops, and the Blazing Sky Legion. If the Vulture Palace does not hand over the Vulture and the murderer within 3 days, we will completely destroy the Vulture Palace territory." When these words came out, the expressions of everyone present changed. Dongfang Minmi said, "Sect Master, if this is the case, Wu Lingzi will be driven to desperation and will bring immeasurable losses to the Council of Light." Yang Dingtian said, "Don't worry, he won't," Qin Wanchou said. "Now, he is relying on Prince Li Ming and is extremely arrogant. If we touch the Vulture Palace, he will definitely launch a deadly counterattack." Yang Dingtian said, "Believe me, it is precisely because Li Ming is here that he cannot counterattack." Then, he said with a serious and apologetic expression, "I am sorry, everyone. I will make the decision on this matter." Following Yang Dingtian's order, all the demon vultures, all the large aerial legions, and all the demon dragons of the Council of Light in the southern barbarian continent were mobilized. The entire war machine of the southern barbarian continent was moving quickly. Hundreds of large warships also immediately approached the sea area closest to the Vulture Palace. Countless giant cannons were all transported to the plains east of the Vulture Palace. In just 2 days, the destructive military forces of the Council of Light had already arrived at the city. They all arrived at the plains east of the Vulture Palace, facing the Vulture Palace across the water. The Vulture Palace originally had an unparalleled geographical advantage. It was an inland island surrounded by an inland sea. This inland sea, which was dozens of miles wide, became the first line of defense for the Vulture Palace. Outside the inland sea, there was a dense primeval forest. It was shrouded in thick fog all year round. A total of 200,000 black vulture troops were stationed in the primeval forest and the thick fog. Any force that wanted to enter the Vulture Palace had to pass through the thick fog and the defensive line of hundreds of thousands of black vultures. Therefore, the Vulture Palace was completely a dead end. No army could break through this astonishing three-dimensional defensive line. But now, almost all of the 200,000 Black Vulture troops had defected to the Council of Light. They had all been reorganized and entered the Council of Light's aerial legions. Most of them had even been transferred to other defensive areas. The primeval forest outside the Vulture Palace had been completely cut down by the Council of Light in the past few months. It had become a vast plain without any shelter. Moreover, many castles and defensive lines would soon appear here, completely surrounding the Vulture Palace. Therefore, the inland sea was the only line of defense left outside the Vulture Palace. The inland sea, which was only dozens of miles wide, surrounded the 3 islands of the Vulture Palace. The army of the Council of Light was on the plain to the east of the inland sea. It was only about 30 miles away from the Vulture Palace. This time, the Council of Light had dispatched hundreds of warships to the 2 sides of the sea. Hundreds of thousands of aerial legions were in the air. However, these military forces were only responsible for surrounding the palace. They basically did not participate in the battle. On the real battlefield, there was not a single ground force. It was all long-range artillery and aerial legions. The Council of Light had frantically mobilized more than 3,000 giant artillery, more than 30,000 aerial bombing troops, and more than 1,000 giant missiles. As long as the order was given, hundreds of thousands of artillery shells would smash into the ground of the Vulture Palace, which was less than 100 square kilometers wide. More than tens of thousands of tons of solidified kerosene crystal shells would be dropped on the ground of the Vulture Palace, which was only dozens of miles wide. This astonishing amount of artillery fire was enough to destroy everything on the ground of the Vulture Palace. There were only a little more than 2 hours left before the deadline set by Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian once again sent out an emissary into the Vulture Palace. He shouted, "There are only 2 hours left before the deadline. I hope that the Vulture Palace will immediately hand over the vulture and the culprit. Otherwise, you will have to bear the consequences." At this time, all the remaining experts of the Vulture Palace had gathered on the platform in front of Wolingzi's thatched hut. Their faces were full of worry. They could not help but blame the Vulture Palace. It had not been easy for them to settle down, but now it had caused such a big disaster. As for the Vulture Palace, he could not help but feel somewhat uneasy. Ling Chuzi entered and said, "Ancestor, there are only 2 hours left before the deadline set by Yang Dingtian." Wolingzi sneered and said, "Bluff." Ling Chuzi said, "Ancestor, what if Yang Dingtian launches an attack? Our energy arrays and our pill furnaces will all be fatally damaged." Wolingzi said, "Don't worry. He won't dare." Ling Chuzi said, What if Yang Dingtian really launches an attack?" Wolingzi said, "Then let him feel my anger. None of the higher-ups of the Council of Light around him should think about leaving alive. I can also show His Majesty the Demon King my loyalty and ability once more." Ling Chuzi's face trembled. If that were to happen, the higher-ups of the Council of Light would undoubtedly suffer countless casualties. However, the higher-ups of the Vulture Palace would probably not be able to survive. 2 hours were up. Wolingzi of the Vulture Palace, relying on Li Ming's backing, gave his final answer. "Either fight or scram." Yang Dingtian gave the order. Immediately, tens of thousands of giant artillery shells and hundreds of giant missiles weighing tens of thousands of kilograms rained down on the Vulture Palace like a torrential storm. This sudden battle erupted in an incomparably abrupt manner. Chapter 905. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. In the eyes of all the remaining people in the Vulture Palace, countless cannonballs came like a rainstorm. At this time, almost everyone felt trembling. He could feel that even a top-notch powerhouse would become incomparably weak in the face of such a violent storm. Even Wolingzi, who was at the semi-saint level, could not stop all this. Suddenly, tens of thousands of cannonballs covered the Vulture Palace, which was less than 100 miles wide. Boom, 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 boom! Then, everyone watched helplessly. The magnificent Vulture Palace, which was like a fairyland, was completely covered by the raging fire. The whole vulture palace, which was more than 100 miles wide, seemed to be burning and torn apart in an instant. The exquisite pavilions and beautiful gardens were instantly smashed and turned into powder. Especially the giant missiles of the Council of Light, which contained dozens of tons of high explosives and X-crystals. The power of the explosion was completely unparalleled. Walingzi stared at the giant object. In just a moment, it had entered the vulture palace and then smashed into a mountain. The terrible thing was that it actually drilled into the mountain for hundreds of feet. Then, there was an earth-shattering noise. Boom! The whole mountain seemed to be suddenly lifted and grabbed by the hand of God. Then, it was instantly torn apart. Then, in the middle of the mountain, there was a huge crack hundreds of feet wide. It could no longer support the huge force of the mountain. Boom, boom, boom! This lonely mountain was broken and collapsed. Above it, countless caves and pavilions were all turned into powder. Walingzi was instantly heartbroken. Yang Dingtian really dared to do it. He really dared to do it. This was his home, his only home. He had lived here for more than 200 years. Now, it was completely destroyed. Suddenly, he felt a wave of regret in his heart. He really should not have let the vulture go out and cause trouble. If it weren't for the tragedy created by Vulture, Yang Dingtian wouldn't have gotten his revenge today. What followed was Walingzi's insanity and boundless fury. Even a cornered dog would jump over a wall. He wanted revenge. Yang Dingtian had destroyed his only home. He wanted revenge. He wanted revenge. Yang Dingtian, I will definitely kill all the high-ranking officials of your Council of Light. I will destroy all of your winged cavalry and your cannons. Walingzi slowly stood up amidst the thick smoke and flames and drew his sword. This old man has not truly fought for countless years. Perhaps some people have already forgotten exactly how frightening I am. Walingzi said word by word. Today, I will let you see my anger. I will let His Majesty the Demon King see my, Walingzi's, loyalty. Kill! Walingzi suddenly gave the order and roared. Kill the Council of Light. Leave no one alive! The Vulture Palace no longer had any military power. Therefore, they could only use their martial power to attack the military power. Following Walingzi's order, the remaining experts of the Vulture Palace flew up like shooting stars and rushed toward the Council of Light's army. However, at this moment, suddenly, a bolt of incomparably shocking lightning struck down from the sky. Boom! The spiritual Vulture Palace, which had already been burning fiercely, suddenly exploded with blinding light in the world that was already ablaze. The light, which was like a nuclear explosion, instantly tore the entire space apart. Suddenly, all the cannons lost their light. The two suns in the sky also became dim. Everyone was temporarily blinded. Yang Dingtian's three profound flame lightning, under the cover of countless cannons, suddenly smashed toward Walingzi's lonely peak. This was because all the remaining experts of the Vulture Palace were gathered there. It was not that Yang Dingtian was ruthless. He originally wanted to temporarily put the Vulture Palace aside. However, there was no other way. The vulture's stupidity and bloodthirstiness directly caused the arrow to be knocked on the bow. Since he had made a move, there was no bottom line. Almost instantly. Swoosh! Many experts on the platform where Walingzi's thatched hut was located were instantly turned into ashes. They were not even smashed into pieces. They were directly turned into ashes. Yang Dingtian's three profound flame attack was incomparably shocking. Its power exceeded the 19th level. Although the power of this profound flame lightning was not as lethal to humans as it was to the undead. However, all the experts who were below the level of Great Grand Master were all turned into ashes. They died without a complete corpse. And a second before the profound flame lightning struck, Walingzi immediately sensed the fatal danger. When he came to his senses, he immediately held Vulture in his arms and protected it tightly. Then, he quickly left his position. Then, he felt an incomparably powerful energy, fiercely bombarding his back. In an instant, his entire body trembled violently. All the profound veins in his body seemed to have been completely torn apart. Indeed, The most direct target of Yang Dingtian's 3 profound flame lightning was Wolingzi. The rest was just collateral damage. Even so, the experts below the level of Great Grand Master would not be able to withstand such collateral damage, and were instantly turned into ashes. Wolingzi only felt a wave of numbness throughout his body. Then, there was a piercing pain. It was as if his entire body did not belong to him at all. For the first time, he felt the terror and threat of death. Even though he had fled the moment he sensed danger and escaped from the center of the attack of the demi-saint profound flame lightning. Even so, he still suffered an unprecedented grievous injury. Terror, terror. It was an endless terror. At the same time, the great Grand Master beside him had instantly lost all ability to react after being hit by the profound flame lightning. All he could do was tremble where he was. Kill! As the order was given, 2 beautiful figures wearing demonic spirit mist robes quickly flashed and rushed in. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Before the remaining great Grand Master elites in Vulture Palace could react, they were all killed. Indeed, they were all killed, including Ling Chuzi. In less than half a second, they were all killed by Yao Li and Yao Zi. Boom, 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 boom. The earth-shattering bombardment continued. Tens of thousands of winged cavalry troops were carrying tens of thousands of tons of napalm bombs. They covered the sky and the sun as they whizzed above the Vulture Palace. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. An astronomical number of napalm bombs rained down like a storm. Boom, 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 boom. Within less than 100 miles of the Vulture Palace, nothing else could be seen. Everything had been devoured by the raging flames. No one would be able to survive such terrifying flames. From this day onward, the Vulture Palace had completely disappeared from this world. Wolingzi had thought it through. He had gathered all the elites to his side and was prepared to launch a martial arts counterattack against the Council of Light. However, this made things easier for Yang Dingtian, who used the demi-sainter profound flame lightning to kill them all. The Vulture Palace had been completely wiped out. All the low-level martial artists had been killed in the earth-shattering bombardment. All the high-level martial artists had been reduced to ashes by Yang Dingtian's profound flame lightning. All the great Grand Master elites had been killed by Yao Li and Yao Zi. Only the Vulture and Wolingzi were left in the entire Vulture Palace. Wolingzi's heart was bleeding. The last thing he had was completely destroyed. His foundation was completely destroyed. The foundation of the Vulture Palace, which had lasted for almost 1,000 years, was completely destroyed in his hands. As for Vulture, she was completely stunned. Her entire body and mind had sunk into fear. She had never thought that killing those demi-humans would have such serious consequences. Weren't they just a few demi-human beasts? Why did they attract such crazy revenge? They really wiped out the Vulture Palace. In fact, before the battle began, both Vulture and Wolingzi had thought that this was Yang Dingtian's strategic blackmail. They had experienced this many times. The Vulture Palace had been blackmailed countless times. Every time, Wolingzi would rather believe it to be true than to not believe it. Therefore, each time Yang Dingtian's strategic blackmail succeeded. Each time, Wolingzi gave in. This time, Wolingzi decided to be tough. However, Yang Dingtian wasn't trying to extort her anymore. He was serious. After that, the entire Spirit Vulture Palace was truly wiped off the face of the earth. Everyone was truly wiped out. Only the father and daughter were left. Yang Dingtian. Why are you here? Wolingzi had aged a few decades. He looked at the completely burning Vulture Palace and hissed. Yang Dingtian said slowly, I have said it before. Don't blame me for not warning you. You treated the Legion of Doom and Crown Prince Li Ming as your life-saving straw. Now let me ask you, where is Crown Prince Li Ming? Where is the Legion of Doom? Where did Li Ming go? After sending the wedding invitation, he had already left the human countries. Yang Dingtian's last information was that he had entered the Little Western Paradise. Therefore, Yang Dingtian decided to act quickly and resolutely. He wanted to completely solve the problem of the Vulture Palace as soon as possible. In Li Ming's heart, he did not care about the life and death of anyone in the human countries, including Wolingzi. It was fine as long as the vulture did not die. However, no one would have thought that it was because of his arrival that Wolingzi and the vulture made an irreparable mistake. Wolingzi lowered his head. The vulture palace had suffered a disaster. As expected, Li Ming did not appear. Even the important figures of the evil ways did not appear, let alone any reinforcements. Furthermore, Yang Dingtian's speed was too fast. In just 3 days, he had completed a devastating blow. After a long time, Wolingzi slowly raised his head and said, "I have always retreated. That is why in your heart, I am so greedy for life and afraid of death. Yang Dingtian, I am afraid that in your heart, my cultivation is incomparably weak. You probably want to destroy me just like you destroyed Wu Daozi." After letting out a long breath, Wolingzi slowly said, "A cornered dog will jump over a wall. This old dog has finally been forced to jump over a wall. Yang Dingtian, you can clearly see how strong I am. Yes, the vulture palace is destroyed, but I am not dead yet. You will know how terrible it is to provoke me. I am the strongest person in the human countries. I have always been. I am greedy for life and afraid of death. I am fierce in appearance but weak in heart. Now everything is over. I will let the whole world see the anger of Wolingzi." Wolingzi's voice was like thunder, completely resounding in the sky. "I will let you see how weak the Council of Light is in front of me, including you, Yang Dingtian." Wolingzi slowly said, "You have successfully forced this old dog to jump over a wall." Yang Dingtian said, "Wolingzi, I have never underestimated you. I have always been careful not to completely anger you. Because I know how scary an old dog like you can be when you're enraged. Even the entire Council of Light's upper echelons will be slaughtered by you. Compared to the other strong people in the human countries, you are really much, much stronger." "Oh, you actually know?" Wolingzi said. "Then why do you still want to force me to jump over a wall?" "Because of Li Ming, because of the Temple of Annihilation," Yang Dingtian slowly said. "Because the Temple of Annihilation has a no-kill order for me. If you kill me, the first one to kill you is Li Ming. Is it Princess Mudan? No-kill order?" Wolingzi sneered. "I know this thing. It has long been outdated. The Temple of Annihilation needs you because they need you to lead the Council of Light Legion and fight a big battle with the Legion of Doom. Do you really think you have any weight in the eyes of the Temple of Annihilation?" Yang Dingtian smiled and said, "Do you know where my no-kill order came from? First, it came from my wife, Shima Ningning. Do you know who she is? She is the only descendant of Naga in this world, and she is the backer of the Temple of Annihilation of Evil Ways. Second, it came from the Demon King Wentian. Do you know where the Demon King Wentian came from? He and I come from the same world, speak the same language, and have the same blood." As soon as these words came out, Wolingzi's expression changed drastically. If he didn't know anything, it would be fine. The key was that he knew a little. No matter what happened to Shima Ningning, he knew bits and pieces. He knew a lot about the Demon King Wentian. But he knew that Wu Yuming had learned a very special language. Yang Dingtian also knew this language. And Wu Yuming learned this language from the Demon King Wentian. Now, the puzzle was completely solved. He suddenly understood. So the no-kill order for Yang Dingtian came from this. The Demon King Wentian and I are both people chosen by the God of Chaos. It's just that we rebelled against the God of Chaos, and I became the spokesperson of the God of Chaos. Yang Dingtian slowly said. Wentian and I are enemies, but we are also comrades. So, in front of the Temple of Annihilation, what are you? Wolingzi's face twitched violently. Even so what? I won't kill you, but I can kill your family and all the upper echelons of your Council of Light. I will let you feel the pain of being stabbed in the heart. Yang Dingtian asked. Do you really think that I have no way to kill you? Wolingzi laughed loudly. Do you know what my cultivation level is? Do you know how much higher I am than you? You want to kill me? You must be dreaming. I have an out-of-body experience. I am immortal. Yang Dingtian raised the soul ring and said slowly, Show yourself, Ghost Emperor. Let our Wolingzi see your dignity again. Boom! Suddenly, the Nether Ghost Emperor drilled out of the soul ring. His incomparably huge body was like a mountain. In the midst of the cannon fire, he became incomparably majestic and incomparably terrifying. How have you been, young man from more than 200 years ago? We meet again, the Nether Ghost Emperor said slowly. Suddenly, Wu Lingzi was completely shocked, completely astonished. He really didn't expect to see the Nether Ghost Emperor here. Who was the Nether Ghost Emperor? He was his totem, his supreme belief. It was the ghost fire bestowed by the Nether Ghost Emperor that changed his fate and gave him eternal life. Now, the Nether Ghost Emperor actually appeared beside Yang Dingtian. This was too crazy. It was too devastating. Immediately, Wolingzi bowed deeply and said, Junior Wolingzi greets your Majesty Ghost Emperor. The Nether Ghost Emperor looked at Wolingzi and said slowly, I can bestow you the ghost fire, I can bestow you eternal life. Naturally, I can also take it back. What do you say? All of Wolingzi's anger, all of his strong dignity, collapsed in an instant. Only infinite fear was left, the infinite fear of losing eternal life. Yes, your Majesty. Wolingzi trembled and said. Yang Dingtian looked at Wolingzi and said, I still have hope for you, but I know that you are afraid of the Demon King Wentian to the bone. You are afraid of the Temple of Annihilation to the bone. Moreover, I don't care about your moral integrity. Therefore, I don't want to recruit you. I only want to make a deal with you. Hand over Vulture and you can live. In an instant, Vulture was completely terrified and fell into infinite fear. No! No! Chapter 906. Could the Nether Ghost Emperor take back the ghost fire in Wolingzi's body? He couldn't. This was because the Nether Ghost Emperor's cultivation was not even as good as Wolingzi's. Even his own body's energy was not as good as the ghost fire in Wolingzi's body. However, Wolingzi didn't know this. He only knew that his fear of the Nether Ghost Emperor was deeply engraved in his bones. Without the Nether Ghost Emperor, he wouldn't be immortal, and he wouldn't be incomparably powerful. Without the ghost fire bestowed by the Nether Ghost Emperor, he wouldn't have been able to break through to the half-step saint realm. Yang Dingtian had used the Nether Ghost Emperor because he had no other choice. This was a secret, a very big secret. Once he used the Nether Ghost Emperor, and the evil ways found out, it would be a great danger and trouble. After all, Yang Dingtian had the Nether Ghost Emperor, which meant that he had the ability and possibility to counterattack the Underworld Empire. Evil ways couldn't tolerate this. But Yang Dingtian had no other choice. That idiot spirit Vulture had forced him to the point where he had no other choice. After Yang Dingtian found out the real reason why he didn't kill Vulture, the danger of the Nether Ghost Emperor's secret was greatly reduced. Therefore, Yang Dingtian finally used this trump card against Wolingzi. There was no other way. Wolingzi was too powerful, so Yang Dingtian had no choice but to use this method. Wolingzi was caught in an extremely difficult choice. He was afraid of death, but he could sacrifice everything for himself. Moreover, he had sacrificed countless people. He had lived for more than 200 years, so he didn't care about the deaths of countless people. At least, the death of his grandson Ling Chuzi didn't cause any ripples in his heart. However, Vulture was different. She was his biological daughter, and his most beloved child. In order to protect himself, he had married her to the pervert Dongli. But she had only remarried, not abandoned and betrayed. But what if he didn't agree to Yang Dingtian's request? If the netherworld ghost flame in his body was taken away, the direct consequence would be immediate death. There was no other possibility. Moreover, even if he obtained the evil energy in the future, as long as the netherworld ghost flame left his body, he would die without a doubt. The lifespan of a human in this world was usually around 100 years, but through some evil secret techniques, they could live up to 200 years. However, 200 years was the limit. So, without the nether ghost flame, he would die immediately. He didn't want to die. He didn't want to lose the immortality that he had obtained. Suddenly, Walingzi thought of a question and said, "You have His Majesty, the Nether Ghost Emperor, so why didn't you come to suppress me before? Why did you wait until now?" Yang Dingtian. "Because I'm afraid that evil ways will find out and try to kill me," Walingzi asked. "Then why aren't you afraid now?" Yang Dingtian. "Because I know the real reason for the no-kill order." Walingzi fell silent, then said, "Will you kill Vulture?" "No. Don't. Don't." Hearing Walingzi's tone soften, Vulture screamed, "Great-grandfather, don't hand me over to Yang Dingtian. Don't. Yang Dingtian. I won't kill Vulture. I will imprison her for life," Walingzi said in a trembling voice. Are you sure? If you kill her, I will definitely be furious. I will definitely take the craziest revenge." Yang Dingtian nodded. Then, Walingzi fiercely clenched his teeth. 2 streams of tears rolled down his cheeks as he pushed the spirit Vulture forward. "No! No!" Vulture immediately wailed and screamed with all her might. Then, she was grabbed by Yao Li and Yao Zi, unable to move. "Walingzi, you old bastard! You can't even protect your own daughter, you good-for-nothing, Yang Dingtian, I curse you. I curse you to die a horrible death. Your entire family will die a horrible death. Walingzi, you old thief. In order to survive, you can even abandon your own daughter. You might as well die if you continue living like this. You might as well die. Old bastard, why don't you die? Why don't you die?" Vulture screamed and screamed with all her might. Then she was dragged away by Yao Li and Yao Zi. Just as she was about to curse Yang Dingtian viciously, she was slapped back by Yao Zi. Looking at Vulture being taken away, Walingzi gritted his teeth and gathered chi in his palms. He wanted to resist violently, but in the next moment, he let go of his hands in fear and dejection. Finally, Vulture's figure could no longer be seen. Walingzi collapsed to the ground. Wrinkles quickly grew on his face. He muttered to himself, "What's the point of living like this? What's the point of living like this? I might as well die. I might as well die." He kept muttering to himself. Then, his eyes revealed an ominous glint. Like a trapped beast, he was filled with a frenzied desire to kill. Yang Dingtian suddenly said, "Live on. Watch will you die. Watch the Netherworld Ghost Emperor die. Watch me die. These people you hate the most will kill each other. In the end, they will all die. Only you will survive. Isn't that good?" Walingzi was stunned. Then, he could not help but imagine that scene. Yang Dingtian said again, "I really don't understand. You have the power to live forever. Why do you still want to fall into a struggle? You are incomparably aloof. You don't rely on anyone and you don't oppose anyone. Isn't that good?" In the end, Yang Dingtian stepped forward and said, "Senior Walingzi, from now on, you and I will not interfere with each other's business. You cannot touch anyone from the Council of Light. Otherwise, I will take away your Netherworld Ghost Flame and kill Vulture even if I have to pay a huge price." In the end, Yang Dingtian said, "Senior, the Vulture Palace has been completely destroyed. You have no more thoughts. You can just be an immortal. You can be elusive and wander everywhere. Moreover, you lost Vulture. Evil ways will not let you go. If I were you, I would go as far as possible and never let Li Ming find me. Never let the people of evil ways find me." After saying this, Yang Dingtian turned and left. Walingzi was still standing in the same place. He did not move at all. Yang Dingtian's last words were engraved in his mind. Be an immortal, a wandering immortal. After leaving Walingzi, Yang Dingtian heaved a long sigh of relief. This battle was finally won without any mishap. He was really afraid that Walingzi would suddenly go crazy and hurt people. If that happened, no one would be able to stop him. His cultivation was too strong. Moreover, his soul could leave his body. Therefore, for Yang Dingtian, he was a little like a bug. There was no way to deal with him. As for whether Queen Haixian and Wu Yu could kill Walingzi, Yang Dingtian did not know. the Council of Light Corps had all retreated. The entire Vulture Palace, as a geographical term, had completely disappeared from this world. The 3 Vulture Islands had completely turned into hell. 2 of the 3 peaks had collapsed. The last one had been burned and twisted. All the pavilions and caves had been burned down. Then, the Council of Light Corps entered the Vulture Palace. In an extremely deep cave at the bottom of the mountain, they saw a hair-raising scene. In an extremely huge pill furnace, there were countless living people boiling. A huge energy array was constantly extracting the vitality of these living people and condensing it into energy elixirs. In the abyss not far away, there were countless skeletons. Moreover, they were all distorted skeletons. This should be the secret of the longevity of the people in the Vulture Palace. It might even be the secret of the many experts in the Vulture Palace. In another cave at the bottom of the mountain, there was a huge energy array. It was a few hundred meters in size. In the center of the energy array, there was a night owl imprisoned. The demon core on the night owl's head was pierced with an energy sword. More than 10 spiritual masters were controlling the night owl's head. In this way, the night owl could emit different levels of energy lightning. Moreover, the lightning energy of the night owl could be magnified or reduced through an extremely complicated crystal energy array. This was the secret of the great grandmasters in the Vulture Palace. This work was similar to Yang Dingtian's mystic fire lightning. In this way, it could help the experts in the Vulture Palace complete the sublimation and nirvana transformation of the Sea of Qi without the need for the power of heaven and earth. Of course, the evil under the Vulture Palace was far more than this. It was still unearthed, especially the secret of Wolingzi's cultivation breakthrough. He had the netherworld ghost fire in his body, so he could directly devour extremely powerful dead souls. In the ancient battlefield ruins, there were many powerful dead souls. They either didn't go to the netherworld ghost emperor or could be directly summoned. This was the most direct reason why he broke through to the half-saint level. However, in the next few decades, he basically didn't leave the Vulture Palace. However, his cultivation was still improving, but not so fast. Therefore, Wolingzi's crimes were monstrous and should be cut into pieces. After the army retreated to the southern barbarian Ming city, Yang Dingtian held a grand funeral for the victims of the half-human clan. As for the execution ceremony of the perpetrators, it couldn't be carried out, because these people were all dead. Therefore, there was only one target in the trial assembly, and that was Vulture. Then, under the eyes of thousands of people, Vulture was whipped. She was whipped 100 times. At first, she was completely crazy and cursed, and her screams were endless. After the whipping, her whole body was completely dripping with blood. Of course, because of the 4th-class evil spirit, she wouldn't die, and her injuries would recover quickly. In the end, the Council of Light sentenced her to life imprisonment. In front of countless people, Vulture was imprisoned in an energy prison. In the end, this energy prison was placed in the north of the demon Vulture King Ajia. Yang Dingtian rode the demon Vulture King Ajia and went north at the fastest speed. Just putting Vulture in the energy prison was not enough. At this time, Vulture was lying in the energy prison dripping with blood. She suddenly said, "Can you give me a condensation pill?" Yang Dingtian handed it in. Vulture opened the condensation pill and poured it on her body. Immediately, all the blood on her body was washed away. Because of the whipping, her clothes were torn. She suddenly tore them. Her snow-white and delicate body was completely exposed in front of him. Slender and graceful, although not plump, it was incomparably attractive. Even if she was a 4th-class evil spirit, she was incomparably powerful. At this time, there were no wounds on her body. "You want to kill me, right?" Vulture suddenly said. Yang Dingtian shook his head. Vulture said, "You are smart. If you kill me, Wolingzi will go crazy, and your people will be killed by him. As long as I die, he will feel it. After all, he and I are father and daughter. My life astrolabe has been engraved on his crown." Yang Dingtian ignored her. Vulture said again, "In fact, you can't take away Wolingzi's netherworld ghost fire, right? You are just bluffing him. If you could, you would have killed him long ago. You would not allow him to live in this world. Yang Dingtian still ignored her. Where are you taking me? Vulture said. Yang Dingtian still ignored her. Demon Vulture King Azu kept flying in the northwest direction. He flew over the northwest continent, flew over the north, and finally came to the northwest end of the yin-yang mirror. Vulture was too dangerous. He could not kill her, and he could not let her fall into the hands of evil ways. Then the only way was to imprison her in a place that no one knew and no one could reach. This place, of course, was another space. Tearing space. Have we arrived? Where is my prison? Vulture asked with a smile. Yang Dingtian smashed her head and directly knocked her out. Then, he released the dark profound fire to create an energy vortex and a black hole to devour the isolated space. Colliding with the dark profound fire, he created a beautiful space door in the isolated space. Finally, Demon Vulture King Azu carried the energy prison and rushed into the space door. Then, Yang Dingtian also rushed into the space door. Soon, the spirit vulture slowly woke up. Seeing the tearing space around her and countless floating boulders, she was completely stunned. Where is this? Vulture hissed in horror. Yang Dingtian used the dark profound fire to cut a hole in the center of the boulder, and then put the energy prison in. Finally, he used the dark profound fire to completely solidify the prison and the boulder. This is your prison, the place where you will be imprisoned for life, Yang Dingtian said. Looking at the extremely bleak tearing space, there was nothing inside, no sky or earth, only countless floating boulders. She was the only one in the entire world. The spirit vulture suddenly felt incomparable fear and panic. No, don't lock me up here. Yang Dingtian, don't lock me up here, kill me. Vulture struggled desperately in the prison, desperately banging her head, and soon she was dripping with blood. However, because of the fourth-class evil spirit energy, the wound quickly healed, not even a scar was left. She screamed desperately inside, banged desperately, and rolled desperately. But it was all to no avail. Yang Dingtian said slowly, because you have a fourth-class evil spirit in your body, you can't starve to death, so I won't leave you any pills or food. Of course, because of the evil spirit energy, you can't die even if you commit suicide, it's completely useless. You, just like this, spend the rest of your life here. When your lifespan is up, you will naturally be free. No. Vulture cried desperately. Yang Dingtian, I beg you, don't imprison me here, I'm scared. Yang Dingtian sighed. If you said this more than 2 years ago, there was still room for redemption, but now, it's too late. It's not too late. Vulture cried desperately, knelt down and begged. Brother Yang Dingtian, you loved me the most before, I will definitely change. I will be your sister, I will be your lover, I will be obedient, I beg you, don't imprison me here. Yang Dingtian looked at her kneeling and kowtowing, and felt a burst of pain in his heart, then shook his head and said, Sorry, it's too late. Then, he turned and left. Suddenly, Vulture's voice sounded behind him. Brother Yang Dingtian, before you leave, can I ask you for a favor? Vulture said, her voice seemed to have recovered the spirit and crispness of a few years ago. Yang Dingtian asked. What is it? Vulture said. I'm still a virgin. I don't want to be a virgin for the rest of my life. You, let me have a taste of a man and a woman, okay? Then, she knelt down in the prison, with her back facing Yang Dingtian, and said, You don't have to let me out, this is enough. Next, I will be in this most cruel prison for the rest of my life. My life is already over. But here I have never had a taste of a man and a woman in my life. I'm really unwilling. Big brother Yang Dingtian, you used to dote on me the most. Please help me, okay? At the end, Vulture's voice was already trembling. You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.